Well, that shit got bright. Divine night, divine night, divine night. I felt like putting on a sweater today. It was kind of cold in I got the cold, the heat. Manifesto of the unconscious focus. A lot of times through my work, studies with myself, that's through working on myself and building into myself. One of the things that I've noticed and came into that aspect of understanding for myself was looking at the spaces, understanding where I'm at, understanding my focus, understanding this growing, this aspect of growth for ourselves. A lot of times we come into our space and we don't realize exactly how we manifested it. We don't think about the space that we came into and our mentalities of how we created it and where we're creating it from. A lot of times when we're thinking about manifesting, bringing things into existence, aligning ourselves, aligning our spiritual and our physical mirrors, we don't realize that sometimes the personality that I use to create that space is this personality that's the only way that's going to come into that's the only way I'm going to be able to feed that space for myself. Sometimes we don't realize that the personality that we create to sustain in a certain space with individuals, people, places, things, all of these things, these aspects within your illusion, the space that you create. Sometimes we don't realize that just that very thought process feeds the perception. I've gotten deep into the aspects of understanding that the personality or the identity that you are creates unconsciously, you create a personality to sustain the protection of your natural identity. That's what the ego does. Ego is always going to tell you, let that shit go. Let me go. Let me go. Let these aspects go. But we hold on to these aspects. We hold on to these aspects in our mentalities, not realizing at first we have to realize the original manifestation of how we were manifested. That's what we're going to get into tonight. We're going to get into the aspects of the deities that you created and not realizing in unconscious manner, and how to rebuild the aspect now that you're coming into the space of, you know what? Yeah, I did create this person for this, and I created this mentality for that. You created them all based upon dealing with the trauma. That's what you're naturally creating. That thought form, that personality that you created within that space still exists. No problem. That's what we're supposed to do. Two parts of the universe, where aspects of this universe coming together to have this healing phase. But when you're coming into this space for yourself, one of the biggest things that I had to think about was the character. I remember always hearing I'm paraphrasing it to take it because I've heard it in many different ways. We all heard it in many different ways. Shut up, it builds character. Shut up, it builds character. Shut up, it builds character. That gave me the thought process of what characters did I create based on what gave me the character? What ingredients are within the character of myself in this standard moment? Is it based on how am I basing how I move, how I talk, how I speak, everything that I do? How am I basing myself into my spaces? What personality has been created based on the perception of somebody else by me not understanding the personality that I created? One of the most simplest things is you do not have a body. Everybody in their mind has a different perception of you. Even everybody listens to me on a weekly basis, listening to the podcast. Everybody has their own perception of me based on the level of light and where they're at within their space. the things that they're dealing with, they're not dealing with, all of that. That has nothing to do with me. And that's something that you have to realize, that it has nothing to do with you. You cannot fix those aspects. You can't work on those, and you can't change. I got to change their perception of me. I got to become this for them, because you're going to be stuck in that space forever, grooming these different personalities to feed different emotional states. So you never have a chance to bring your emotions into balance. Remember, we're supposed to be bringing ourselves into balance. That is the aspect of perfection. I am perfected. I am perfected because I am in balance. That doesn't mean that I'm perfect. That doesn't mean that I can't make. That doesn't mean that I cannot make. And there's another thing we got to get out of thinking about making mistakes. No, there's no such thing. You're in this quantum level of this quantum level of your mentality. You have to realize that there's no such thing as a mistake, because they're simply based on the information that you had and how you applied it, how you use the information, how you use the light within that space. We only think about it like this. I'm at about 46% usage of my brain. Last night was one of the most in-depth experiences for me. In this day 3 of my fast, day 2 of my fast, doing it for 20 days. And I was laying down in bed, and I was laying back. I was just laying there. And like, I felt myself. I've been to no self before. I've been to no self. I've learned how to project from my no self. But this time I was in my no self. And the visual I can use for it is, there's a scene in Queen of the Damned when she's coming out of the water, or she's coming out of the blood. Appreciate it. She was coming out of the blood. She's coming, like, there's these scenes when they're coming out of the blood, they're coming out of the darkness, they bathed in the darkness, it's all over their body. That's where I was at. I was in that space, and I was just absorbing the energy. It was on some, I was thinking about, I was like, nigga, this is like some Lucy shit that I was in. Came to, I woke, I was just like, yo, that shit was the fucking best. But it's a process to getting to this. This is another thing when it comes to the aspects of people talking about right now, talking about December 21st. December 21st better not be this, better not be none, no bullshit. Here's the realest thing about December 21st. Just like any other thing, everything down here is the illusion. Everything down here is made up. So my December 21st will be the last day of my fast, and it will be the crowning day of the aspects of getting into the winter solstice. So my body will match the space that I'm going to into my ascension, of me ascending in these levels, these many ascensions for myself. Now I'm going to be going, now it's going to be the grand aspect, because remember, you do a whole season for one day. Taking yourself into mentality, you're doing one season for one whole day. But before we get into that, we're going to get into this aspect of this manifestation. What personality did you create, and why? Really, when we come into the aspects of understanding, getting into shadow work with ourselves, working on ourselves, really sitting there and working on ourselves, the first thing that you're going to have to get into is the personality that you created. That is going to be your initial point into yourself. What personality did you create within that space to survive? What accomplishments did that personality give to you? This is going to be the key in separating from, it doesn't matter. Use another example. It doesn't matter that, okay, I worked for 5 years. Every restaurant job that I worked at for at least 5 years. 5 years, 6 years max. I think the longest one was like 8 years on and off. It doesn't matter all of the accolades and the accomplishments that I accomplished at working each one of these spaces. Doesn't matter. Why does it not matter? Because that's not my field anymore. It doesn't matter because I'm not in that field. I'm no longer in the restaurant field. I'm still cooking up shit, but I'm not in the restaurant field. So for me to come into the space of being the shaman, being the healer, being the one giving, like building what I do, I can't use those accomplishments in this space. It doesn't fit. It doesn't work. Like, okay, cool. You cooked for over 20 years. Okay, cool. That's nice. But what did you do about what about this? But what I can use, and this is what we have to understand in those accomplishments, first understanding the personality traits of each one of those accomplishments. Because everything that you've accomplished, it came with a different set that were in synonymous rhythm, a different set of personality traits that you had to do to acquire that. Once you learn those, once you learn the aspects of the lessons, I learned the lessons that I learned from being in the restaurants, from being in retail, being in these aspects. I learned the aspects of managing money, schedules, time, days off, I learned all of these aspects. I can take those lessons from my accomplishments and hold on and use those forever. Those are forever part of my makeup. I can look back. This is the same thing when you're looking at your life in the aspects. Take it further out. We don't go further out. Go into the aspects of your life. You had many accomplishments in your life, but we can't look at it from bad and good, because you had accomplishments that came from a negative space, and you got accomplishments that came from the good space. You had negatives from this and positives from that, but there were accomplishments. There were marks. There were trophies. You got trophies from them spaces. If I sat here and said I fought, let's say I got in 50 matches, and I did not lose one match. I didn't lose one match. But then I lose the next match I get into, I lose. What's somebody going to remember? The one match that I lost or the 50 that I won? They're going to naturally hone into the negative, the one that I lost. Why are they going to look into the one that I lost? Because that's where they're going to find my weaknesses. That's where they're going to find my weaknesses. They can't find my weaknesses in the wins. They can find the other individual's weaknesses in the wins, but they can't find my weaknesses in the wins. They can't find my weaknesses in my wins. They only can find it in my losses. This is where you're going to start understanding this, peeling this layer back for yourself, peeling these layers back. You're only using 10% of your brain. You spend 10% of your brain. Just because you're only using 10% of your brain does not mean that your whole entire mind is not being used. The other parts of your mind that you're not using or you're not expounding within, those are where those empty concepts and those personalities are going to live in the darkness, living in the darkness aspects of your mind. They living in the darkness. They only come out whenever there's light brought to them, something that can feed them. This is when you start understanding the personality aspects with yourself, really getting in check. This is why you look at your zodiac, you look at your natal chart, you looking at your whole natal chart. Each one of those have each characteristic of the zodiacs in your natal chart. You'll have different personalities. They all have different personality traits. So at any given time, when it's supposed to serve the purpose, it's going to be there right in front of you. It's right there for you to use it. But you get stuck on the one that you brought to the light. So I remember for a point in time, I got stuck on the Aquarius aspect. I didn't know shit about zodiacs 8-9 years ago. Then I got stuck on the Aquarius aspects of my zodiac. So I built personalities to match those aspects of that zodiac. I literally created those personalities of those aspects. I'm always going to be detached, or I'm detached, I'm intuitive, all of these aspects, whether it was negative or positive. I wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't consciously thinking about it. I was just moving off of the creation. So I'm just creating. Everything within this space based on that. So I always had something to go back to so I can give an answer. But you know I'm an Aquarius. Well, you know, like Aquarius is this. Well, I know this. This is the mindset that a lot of us get stuck in when we start doing when we're doing our work. We get stuck on one aspect or the accomplishments built from that. Yo, I got a lot of stuff from being detached, but I also lost a lot of shit from being detached. Because this is you putting yourself in the space of like, all right, cool. What did I gain? And what did I not gain? Why didn't I gain this? These are my weaknesses that I need to work on. Because just like every aspect of the zodiac has a higher and a lower aspect. Everything is synonymous to each other. Everything layers with each other. It ain't multiple. You ain't multitasking. All this shit layers with each other. All of it layers. It ain't you. A lot of us, we sit in this process and we're like, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna do some of this. Bring them into your space. But the only way to do that, the reason that you're doing them in separate spaces is because you're still fragmented. The only reason that you're able to create these aspects is because they all have you can create all day, but they only have one feature that they're going to be able to feed off of, and that's you. All of this energy only can feed off of you. You're the only aspect, like down here right now, you're the only thing down here that has a soul, period. No matter how dead and how dank and how locked down your soul is, you have the soul. Through that aspect, you are the one that is the creator. This is your space. This is what you do. But if you're unconsciously creating based on the external or the quality, not quality, but quantities, you feel like you always need more. You feel like you always want more. And then when it comes time for you to actually bring yourself into balance and sit the fuck down with yourself, most people feel like cutting shit off is the way to actually do the work. You're taking it. I'm taking off this mask. I'm taking off this personality. I'm going to study this personality. This personality lives off my urges. This personality has this set of urges. This personality has this set of thoughts. This personality uses this aspect of my mind based on feeling, based on everything that I'm doing within that space. So the key is not for me to shut off my urges. My key is to understand my urges, bringing it to the higher level of my aspect to manifest with it. So I use the example of me being on a fast. Me being on a fast, me being plant-based anyway, me being on a fast, my mind, the first thing I thought about was like, nigga, vegan Cheez-Its. Yes, understand both sides of that polarity. Vegan Cheez-Its and all types of cookies and vegan snacks and whatever. The next aspect for myself is, nigga, today I was like, I want some vegan crab cakes. Oh man, I can't have that. Let me drink more water. All I'm doing is suppressing it. Do not suppress the urge, because that's naturally what you're going to be fighting. Your personality is going to be fighting that. So now everything that you see is because you're going with an untrained thought. You're trying to suppress it, and that energy needs to release. You're going with an untrained thought, and now you're allowing it to go out into the world untrained. You're allowing your child, your possible child, to go out untrained. Here's the thought process. I'm going to do a break. This breakdown is going to build up to the aspects of building a manifestation. So if I sit here and I have a hankering for vegan crab cakes, I know I can make them shits from scratch. I want some rice with it, like a little wumalad on the top of it, whatever. Some veggies on the side. Nice little meal. What do? I'm going to go in it. I'm going to go Google vegan crab cake recipes. I'm either do it from the laptop, do it from my phone, whatever is around me to get on the internet. I'm going to go on there. I'm going to look at the recipe. I'm going to study the recipe. I'm going to become the recipe. This is how I'm going to become the recipe. This is how I'm become the recipe right here. I'm gonna look at everything on that recipe. I'm gonna be like, okay, cool. I got that. I got this herb. I got this herb. I got this. I got this. Okay. I got those things. All right, cool. Once I have fully absorbed this recipe into my mind, that means I've created this. I've taken the picture or the finished result and put it into my mind. Now I'm going to deconstruct this in my mind. How do I deconstruct it? That means the next step for me to do, bringing the mental aspect into the physical manifestation, not by having to cook it, because I've already cooked it in my mind. I've made it up. I've cooked it in my mind. I've set the time and everything. Now I'm building my physical realm into that space. So now I go into the kitchen. I take a inventory of whatever I need in the kitchen, whatever other things I need to go grab out of the kitchen, whatever I need to grab. I think about what my grandmother tapped me on my shoulder. Don't cook in a dirty kitchen. I'm not cooking in the kitchen. I'm bringing this shit into reality. I'm not suppressing it. I'm bringing it into my reality, into my mindset to build it in full. Now I sit in my space. Shit, I got to clean the kitchen before I do any of this. Now I'm in the kitchen cleaning. I'm cleaning and I'm assessing the environment while I'm building this in my mind. Now, after I've done all of this, my mind, I'm not even thinking about the food or the urge anymore, because I've not suppressed the urge. I've taken that thought to the highest point and I've allowed it to release into my masculine aspect, my logic and reason of what I need to do to get it and how I'm going to create it. I've allowed that to release. I've allowed it to release evenly in balance in my space, in my mind. So now I've created this personality, or I've created this deity that is Chef Papa Lucifer in the kitchen. That's his purpose. That's his environment. This is how his environment looks. This is how his environment feels. This is everything within that space. Now, every time that I go in there, that body of light, that's exactly the alchemy, that body of light that I've now created exists within that space. It has all the power and all the functions and all the knowledge that I have, but it's the deity set for that space. It lives in that space based on being in it. That's the deification process for yourself. Now that I've built this deity in my mind, now that I've built this side deity of myself, I've split myself off into myself. We're going to get into the aspects of from the no self. We're going to go through the whole aspect. From the no self, I spoke light into that space. This is God creating light into the universe, bringing light into I brought light into the universe. I brought information into that space. Now I must create the deities and the functions of that space. So now I created oceans and all this shit. I created the oceans. It's already there, but I'm bringing it into my space, into my mentality. So, okay, the stove is now there. That's my heat. The water is there. That's the sink. The elements of the herbs and everything. Everything's within that space. On the fourth day, I create light. I create day and night. I create the higher aspects and the lower aspects. I create the energy where I create the darkness for where I'm going to create from, and I'm creating the environment where it's going to be seen. This is you creating that. This is the work in putting in your body of work. You've done it unconsciously forever. Now it's just the time to bring it online. Take to the aspect of, if I close my eyes and I'm to walk down this hallway down to the front door, right? In my mind, it's like I've walked down this hallway 1,000 times. So how come when you close your eyes, you might trip over a shoe, you might trip over some shit and run into the wall? It's because you have not mastered that space. You've only mastered that space based on sight. You've only mastered things based on sight of what you've seen, based on what you believe that you know. The things that you have came into knowing based on the personality that created that space in the first place. Until you actually are actually sitting there with yourself, this is the depth. Because people talk about, I do my self-reflections all the time. Okay, what do you learn? I learned this and I learned that, and okay. Show me what the fuck you learned. Show me your work. You said you did it. Show me what you did. Show me what you found out. The key of being that scientist, the key of stepping into that space is you're not looking for wins and losses. Got to get out of the mindset of wins and losses, because that makes victims and victors. Get out of the mindset of wins and losses, because that's the victims and victors. This puts you in a constant state of competition because you're trying to compete with you're trying to compete with your other personalities. Now I'm not competing. There's no one for me to compete with, because everything that I'm doing is based upon my work, my value, the desired process of what I'm doing. This is when we get into the aspects of quality versus quantity. Quantity is always going to be based upon need and want. So if you think about old heads, think about an old head he got on his gold from his glory days. Yeah, you have no competition. There's no competition. You can't win what you can't lose. From the old head got on his gold chains from his good old back in the day. Good old back in the day, he got his chains on, got all this shit. He got all that based on needs and wants. So what does he have? So in order to maintain that personality of need and want, one is a personality for need, is a personality for want. So to maintain the urges set by the urges now lived out by that need, the urges now lived out by that want, he has to go into spaces to where there's a need and want for that to be seen, for that quality, that quantity. This is where you're switching your mind out of. We've gotten so used to the quality, the quantities. I need more. But now you have a full house and now you can't maintain it, because all of that was based upon external value. All of that was based upon needs and wants. All of that was based upon competition, competing with yourself in the multifacets of the personalities that you created. All that validation you got the validation because now you got the TV in your house, and you only using it to watch movies. You using it for movies and you're using it for a conversation piece based on quality, the quality of it. Yeah, man, I got the new, I got that 100 arrows on my wall. Yeah, man, now you got to have a reason to use it. Now you got to create the personality. Now you unconsciously create the personality for fight night, game night. Now you got to create the other personality because now you're feeding these urges. You're feeding the urges because now you got the TV for fight night, so you got to have a personality for fight night, game night. Now you got to have a different personality for when now you having shorties over. Now you got to have this other personality when you got family over. All these different personalities that you're creating, they all need to thrive and exist, all based on needs and wants. So now you won't get anything until you actually see something of value with it. We're going into the aspect of you, your desire, your self-worth, your reflections, everything that you're doing, that's going to be based upon quality. What is the quality? What is the worth of the quality of the quantity of the shit that I have in my crib if the quality of my health is not in order? If my health is not in order, then my money or my abundance or my prosperity to my wealth and my abundance is definitely not going to be in order, because my health is not at a balance to be able to maintain the balance of my wealth or whatever I'm bringing in. So I'm constantly looking for something to make that shit make sense in my space. Now I'm going to be doing this competition with myself into that space of trying to make other individuals need something from me, want something from me. So now I have to create a personality to go into that space to deal with this individual, to deal with that house, to deal with that space. So now their perception is now feeding from my personality that I've given them. That projection, that glamour, the way that they see me. Man, I can't go out the house like this. I remember there was a point in time for myself. Yeah. When you start putting this aspect of that work in for yourself, you really start monitoring your energy and how your energy is used. You realize the importance of your energy, not only in because it's all going to matriculate, it all naturally trickles down from the macro to the micro. It naturally trickles down. So everything from, I'll give another example. There's only two queens that have ever touched my crown, period. The one that started my process of my locks and the one that upkeeps the process of my locks. Before going into these spaces, I had to build a relationship into the processing of doing anything to myself. So I'm sitting there from the first time when I first was growing my hair out, to braids, to twists, to what's the mother shits? The gel twist and shit, everything that I was doing, it was building that relationship within that space. I'm not going to invest this is when you're going into the aspect of you becoming the owner, because now you're asking these questions, not for answers to make you fundamentally sound in that space, but to expound your way of thinking, your thought process, to help you grow naturally. All day, that's the wave. So when you're looking at your process, all the way from there, from that process of our conversations with me and my first stylist, our conversations, every conversation built to a point to where now she's in Raleigh or she's in Cary, North Carolina, and she has her own shop and everything up there. From down here in this space, this is the crazy part of how that shit lines up. When you start looking at these lines, down from here, working at another shop, working at a shop down here to owning her own shop up there. Synonymous to my aspects of growth, to me being sweating my ass off in a fucking kitchen, to weekly lectures, daily meditating elevates, doing the work that I do. That's the synonymous build of the growth. Everything around you is naturally going to matriculate based on your personality when you walk into that space. You're growing when you go into that space. You questioning that space. All the way to the one that does my hair now. I haven't had a retwist in a minute. I'm going through the phase of allowing myself to be really, really into myself. I don't need it. It's not a need or a want anymore. It wasn't a need and a want in the first place. It was a process. I set up, when you're not basing things on needs and wants, your quality changes of when you're doing things, why you're doing things, how you're setting up things. And the best thing about your quality of yourself and the value of yourself when you're building it is you're not doing it to suppress something. I'm taking that thought process. Someone can be like, I can be like, damn, I need a haircut. I visualize, okay, what do I do when I get a haircut? After I get a haircut, naturally, for us being gods, We feel fresh. We feel light. We feel a certain type of way. That personality feels different. How can I take that personality and now coin this personality into the space where I'm at now without even having to leave the space? So I don't need that. I'm not suppressing anything. When I have that feeling, I use that energy and I bring it to the higher aspects. I allow it to trickle back down. Take it to that Santa Claus approach. That classroom allowed it to hit the top and roll all the way down. So now that I've built this space in myself, now it's no longer, at first it becomes the first sacrifice to my Godhead, my God self. Then you start understanding the process of when you do your locks, and you got to go through the ugly phase where you can't cut your hair, you can't wash your hair for a couple months. You're going to use dry shampoo until that shit lock up. Now you can embrace the sacrifice. Now you can embrace it and be like, I can do this. I'll just put on a hat. I'll just wear a fucking head wrap. I'll put on a hat. I'm good. It's wintertime anyway. This is the point of when you're setting yourself up into your spaces based on the rituals that you do, how you set up your rituals. You're not following, you're studying. You're studying these aspects to expound yourself. Last Friday was a full moon. I did not even realize it. I felt it ultimately, but I didn't even realize it. I remember when I do my same shit because I'm already in the space. So like every Friday, go grab the candles, do my sigils, do my work, do my aspects, build my shit, do my space, do what I need to do. And I set that shit and I set it as literally set and forget. It's become so normal to me to do it that I can do it in my head. And then like, okay, cool. That's something new. I never thought about that sigil. I never thought about this. That's what I'm putting into the altar. Everything that you're doing is taking you into a state of advancement. Everything that you're doing is taking you into a state of advancing. I'm not thinking, okay, cool. I've accomplished this. What did I learn from when the locks? Yeah, like people like when I tell people about the ugly phase when it comes to doing it, when you locking up your hair, the ugly phase, it's not really it's just a phase where you are truly looking at yourself in the most natural and raw state. So yeah, the better word is to take away the ugly aspect. You're about to look at yourself in the rawest. You're allowing yourself to go into the rawest state of being of yourself. And you're allowing yourself to sit there with that rawest being of yourself and embrace it. Bobby Hemming said that shit the best. If you are the best ass scratch, if you good at scratching your ass, Diafaction scratching your ass. Envision you scratching your ass being the best ass scratcher that ever was. Take yourself out of the mindset of it's something that, because it's positive and negative. It's the polarity. Set yourself up in your mind. So I said to Bobby Hemming, his birthday was earlier this week. Beautiful shit. So when I'm sitting there setting my space up for the altar, every time that I do set up the altar, it's something new in my state of mind. I'm setting it up to go, that's my future aspect. That's the future aspect of myself. It's not based on past. So therefore, when I'm setting up my altar, everything that's naturally going to come down are the things that need to be worked on within that space. Everything that come up, I got everything you have to change. You're training your mind not to have to go back based on accomplishments. Some people have the accomplishment right now of saying, yo, man, I got unemployment every single week. And now they sitting there, since you were stuck on the accomplishment of getting that unemployment, and now you're sitting in a position with yourself of like, nigga, that shit ran out. What am I gonna do now? What did you do with it? What did you create from this? What did you create from this blip in the glitch? What did you create from the glitch? What did you create from the glitch? I created a company. I created a company. I created a LLC. Not saying it has to be your process, but I created an LLC. Gotta Call Alchemist LLC. That's the corporation. That's me. That's my environment. See how it all matriculate, it all synthesizes. That's the environment. You feel me? That's the environment. Papa Lucifer, the host of God Hour podcast, the creator behind Occult Alchemy, the creator behind Occult Alchemy, the creator and the shaman behind God Occult Alchemist LLC for the services that I provide. These are the personalities that I've created based on my environment and how they all interact with the environment. That's your process. When you're coming into your processes, allowing yourself, nigga, this is what I'm doing now, nigga, I'm doing my shit. Yeah. But there was a process behind that. I had to get out of the mindset. The reason that it took me so long, the reason it didn't even take me that long, but the reason that it was for a lot of us, we have this aspect of the failing based on the need and want, is because we're looking at it based on time served. If I'm focusing on my time served, how can I focus on the now? If I'm focusing on time served, how can I focus on the now? Man, I did this and I did that and I did this and what did you do now? It's another good way. Self-reflection, when you look at yourself in the mirror, doing your works, looking in the mirror. Bring that personality to the surface. Bring that individual to the surface. Bring him to the stand. Bring him to the stand. Ask them, what have you done? What were your accomplishments? And what have you done lately? You're going to notice that when you start doing this process, this is purging. You're going to notice once you start doing this process that the physical manifestations that are created based on the perceptions or the thought form that's created to holster that personality is in your life. So what has that personality done for you lately? Besides get your ass fucked up and get your ass sad, get your ass messed up, get your ass in trouble, get your ass in positions now that you feel your personality got you not trusting the process of you going through what you're going through now. So ask your, what have you done for me? Go ahead and put it's a Tory Lane song, I think. Yeah, it's a Tory Lane song. Talk to me, amen. Use the music. I tell everybody I use old music to conjure, old music to channel, and I use new music to conjure. Use everything in your environment. Even going to the aspect of when you're doing your shadow work and you're going to certain aspects of yourself, you're going to be using the music to take you back to that space. The smell, the sight, the sound. You're taking yourself back into that space. Listen to the space. Yes. It's the depth that you try to put on the certain things. The things that you have on the external state of being are not really as deep. The illusion cannot only be as deep as you are. So use an example of every motherfucker talking about, yo, man, don't get the vaccination and all this shit and all that shit. All right, cool. They're doing it. They're enticing niggas. They're dropping the aspect. Like someone just put up a post the other day. Today, would you accept the stimulus package for a vaccination shot? 10% of your brain is being used. The other 10% is not being used by you. 10% of your brain is being used by you. That means the other 90% of your brain ain't being used by you. Who is it being used by? Who is it being maintained by? One of the craziest things, it took me a while to be able to tell this fucking story. Those perceptions, the stronger the perception, the more of a handle it has on the personality. When we think about clones, you think about clones and they're going to hop on board. They're going to hop on board. What am I going to do? I'm going to invest into the company that is doing the syringes and all that shit. I'm going to eat from the higher. I'm gonna eat from the gold, silver, the gold dinner plates, the gold plates at the golden table while they eating their paper plates off that little that aspect. To each their own. I can accept it, but I do not have to partake of it. But take the thought process. Clones and all this aspect. Every time that you say that you need to be handled, you are creating the manifestation of the handlers. You're creating the manifestations of the clone. You're creating the manifestations of the clones. The clones are your personalities in the physical manifestation of your what you call it. I said that to say this. My pops. I remember when my pops became a Mason. I remember my pops' mentality before he became a Mason. I remember his mentality, how he used to walk, how he used to talk, everything. It took me a while to realize it because I was still shrouded under the traumas and aspects. But I remember I looked back and I was like, my pops had a handler. My pops had a whole fucking handler. There was this older black guy. And when my pops became a Mason, his first handler was was my Uncle Roy. That was my uncle by marriage. Like it was my pop's sister's wife. It's my pop's sister's husband. That was his first handler. I remember when my Aunt Diane transitioned, and I remember like she showed me a book of some sort. This was even before I came online to my shit. So I'm saying, all right. My pops was like so fucking lost without my Uncle Roy being there. Like he was sad and all these things. I'm just thinking he's going through a grieving. I just think he's going through a grieving process. What he was really going through was an aspect of the personality. The handler that was supposed to be keeping his personality in check was gone. So then this other old guy came through, and my pops would get mad, pops be upset or whatever it was. This man would appear out of no fucking where. It seemed for us, it was like, okay, maybe he called him. This nigga lived down the streets, came out of no fucking where. Take my pops to the gas station. They go drink coffee, go do what old niggas do. You thinking this the old niggas do. And then that handler was disconnected. My pops had handlers. When you're thinking about your family members and the holds of under individuals that's what's on them, it's an aspect of them having a handler. You create a handler for yourself based on that personality and that perception that you stay stuck in. Based on the trauma, based on the events that you ain't dealing with, you created a personality of this archetype to connect to this perception. My sister, my brothers, my sisters, my brothers, my friends, all of these aspects. You created all these handlers for you to handle your energy for you based on the definition of how you define that aspect of where they at. You created this entire definition for them to feed within. This is when you got to start protecting your fucking energy and looking at how your energy needs to be protected. Because now that I'm in the space where I'm at now, I now can see those aspects deep. I can see those from the aspect. I'm not looking at it like, yeah, man, everybody out again. No, I'm not thinking about winning or losing or competing with the shit. Is there something that now that my eyes are on, I understand the aspects of the energy. I understand that when I go into that space, how can I break that energy down? When I go into this space, what does this space mean for me? What personality does this energy, does that space serve for me? Am I growing within this space? It goes deep in that space. Am I growing within this space? Is it nurturing me within this space? What does this space mean? What was this space created on? Because now I'm looking at myself. How was I created? Where were my creation, my energy? This is how you start looking at everything. This is the reflection in order to execute and understand, experience and observe your spaces. This is why for me right now, I got an entire playlist of how I have to stuff that falls in line. It's not, it ain't even like I gotta do it. It just falls in line. When I wake up from whatever meditation music I got sound therapy going on in the room the entire time. When I first wake up, I stretch, get myself ready for the gym. This Monday through Thursday ritual. Get ready for the gym. The first thing that I'm listening to up until I actually start working out is either some type of Kundalini energy enhancing, cleansing my space enhancing, a deep trance music, or deep trance some type of deep trance music. And that's building my space. So while I'm sitting there on the treadmill, elliptical, whatever it is, I'm also learning, because I'm also applying these different things to my space. I'm also learning, let me sit in my space real quick, and I'm going to visualize running on this treadmill. I'm going to have my eyes closed the entire time while I'm on this treadmill running. The first couple of times that I did it, I almost tripped on myself because I wasn't used to the space. I wasn't used to the speed. I wasn't used to the incline. I had to build this space in my mind of me already doing this to help me be able to live into this space. So now that I've built that into my mind and I'm doing it, what else can I layer on top of this? How else can I take, if you've seen Netflix and seen Hannibal, there's that scene in Hannibal where he chopped the Asian bitch up, the Asian chick up, and he put them in them glass panes. Most people are concentrating on that layer and this layer and that layer. You're not looking at the whole layer. Let me look at that. I look at it happens naturally. When I start my day out by one thing repeatedly, then suddenly we have the schedule. It fits. Yes, that's that exact aspect. And as you're sitting there doing that with the layers of yourself, and you looking at these layers that you have now created, you're no longer multitasking. Multitasking is a trick of multitasking is an illusion of time-based thought based on subjects. We were taught based on subjects. Like in this space, we were taught based on subjects. So it's like bell ring, 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 bell ring. So it's now I'm in this environment till this point in time. The bell ring, I get something out of that space. I get something out of that space. Now I'm in this environment. No, I get something out of that space. Now I'm in this environment. Now I get something out of this space. You had 8 fucking classes. You had 8 fucking periods in school. I had 8 periods in fucking school. Each one of them classes had a different fucking personality. In the classes that I didn't really like something in me ever since the 9th grade, when my teacher, Coach Steele, said that he played this video and he was talking about the Egyptians were stupid because they thought they can take their stuff with them. History never worked for me. Something about history never worked for me. So the personality that I created in history class was like, I'm listening, but I'm really not listening. But the personality I had in math, the personality I had in my science classes, my AP science, my AP honors, calculus, and all those aspects of classes, my English class was always lit. Foreign languages. I went to this thing we had, this thing for business aspects. Those are the personalities that I really was attuned to, especially because they were closer to lunch and shit. It's neither here nor there. But I'm in that space and I'm now realizing that that's the process that you were put in, and then that's the process that you use in your physical realm. Now everything's based upon subjects. Everything's based upon the breakdown. But when we look at this in the path of unlearning to relearn, don't throw that shit out, because that was an aspect that you needed in the aspect of you. I like English. I like English only for the writing subjects. Only for the writing subjects. I like reading, and one of the things that always stuck out to me in my reading, like when I was taking my reading course, was the 3 battles of man: the man versus himself, man versus himself, man versus his environment, and man versus man. That shit always stuck out to me in that. So it's like going back into those aspects of the corridors of your mind. You're like, why did that stick out to me? What did that, when you go right back, what did this personality teach me? What did this personality's accomplishments in that personality? What did I accomplish there? That's what you're taking forward. What didn't you accomplish there? Why didn't you accomplish it? This is your breakdown of yourself. This is your breakdown of your mind, turning your mind back on. You only use the 10%. Most motherfuckers still only use the 10% of their brain. And they waste that 10% of their brain on logic and reason. So they never can put logic and reason in the same space and creativity in the same space. So now their logic and reason is of their mind, their creation is of their heart. They're never in sync. So when it comes to the aspect, this is when I don't knock fraternities, sororities, none of that shit. I don't knock it. Some people need that aspect in their experience. I wasn't one of them individuals that needed that, and I didn't need that experience. So I'm sitting there in this. So I'm sitting in the space. I think about fraternities the same way I think about go be a Moor, go be this, go be that, go be this. I don't really need. Yes. So it's like, I really don't need to be this to go get the information. How sacred or how real is your information? If I can go on Amazon and grab all of the more science books, I can go search for the books, because the process is not the result. The process is the experience is going to be in the trip that I took to go get this book, because I'm going to be able to use that later on into building the program for me to use this information. If it's easy for me to sit there and be like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go get. If it's easy for me to go pay $3,000, $299, $3,000, however many fucking dollars to go get this information from this individual to tell me, if that's a needed aspect for that person, let it be a needed aspect for the person. But I'm not that type of person. If the book costs $400 and I gotta pay you $300 to get the book for the $150, I still spent $350. I still spent $350. I might as well spend the extra $50 and get the book for myself. I might as well. I'll just go get it for myself. I'll go do it myself. This is your processing when you're coming into that space of yourself. You're like, nigga, I never really understood this, and I never really understood that, and man, I need. Okay, that's going to be the process of the experience. Being able to read a book in the layers of coming back to that book, similar to like whenever I read books, for example, when I'm building my space in my mind from books, when I do read a book, just for that aspect of reinforcing stuff for myself to help myself come down. Even when I read a book that says something about religion, I know religion means to bind to fundamentals. So these are the fundamental properties of the Yoruba. So these are the fundamental properties of the essence of the Yoruba. The Yoruba is me. I am the essence of all. Therefore, these are the fundamental properties of the essence that is me. Now I can unlock this book. Now I can start applying this book. Now I can start applying this work. But everything gonna lead back to your shadow work. That book, every book's gonna lead you right back to shadow work. because now you have to apply it once you get the information. If you view it as a binding, that's because somewhere within you is binding. It's going to be a reflection. It's something in you that you have bounded based on that personality that won't allow you to absorb that information. What has that personality done for you? This is when we get into the aspects of motherfuckers siphoning your energy. If I'm sitting here in my space and a motherfucker look at me, if I'm sitting in a tacos, if I'm sitting in a position and I lost that whole train of thought. That's when you know the spirit's kicking in, because you know you're losing trains of thought. Personality ciphering. You're going to be siphoned through the personality that you what's maintained into that space. That personality has a name. That personality has a like. That personality has a color that it like. That personality has every aspect that is going to be a reflection of you. That's why you can sit there and say, that's why my favorite color is going to be black, because it's the essence of where everything comes from. So my personalities naturally, one of my personalities like the color blue, another personality like the color gray, another personality like the color orange, like that burnt orange. I was in love with burnt orange for a long period of time. Another personality likes this color of green. Each one of your personalities has their own archetype of what makes them, their senses, their own sight, their own taste, their own sound, their own sight, their own taste, their own feels, their own sound, they have their own 5 senses. So you thinking that you got simply 5 senses, the same people that think you only got 7 chakras. Why do you think you have multiple chakra points in your body anyway? Each one of those are going to be understood by understanding the personalities that you first created. And that's going to be the process. This is why it's an ongoing process. This is why it's constant repair, because you're going to be tearing shit out and putting shit back in. You're going to go through a moment of purging. You're going to get to a point where like, yeah, I'm good right here. And then you don't have to go through another moment of purging, because the process is infinite. Remember, you are an infinite body of light. You're an infinite body. You're an infinite spectrum of light. I'm bathing in the fucking black the darkness, and that light appear above my head of violet and blue and all these fucking trippy ass fucking colors. I'm like, nigga, I woke up out of nowhere like, this shit feel great. I woke up to say that. I came to say that and went right back in. Scared the shit out of I'm like, nigga, I can go in and out of this shit at random. Wait until I master that shit. This is the inner child that my inner child loved this shit. My inner child, look at Dragon Ball Z, the saga when they were talking about the battle of the universes, and look at the 2 kids sitting on the thrones. That's one of the envisions that I use in my mind. My North Node is Gemini, so those are my twin aspects of my inner children that are playing around they're playing around, sending shit down here all the fucking time. Let's see how this works. Let's see how this works. Put this into the pot. That drops into the pot of the God. That drops into the environment of the Godico alchemist. Me as Adam, me as Atum, as Papa Lucifer, now uses that to create within this realm. Naming shit in my realm, naming shit in my world. For what purpose that it serves for me. Doing the work. Not suppressing the urge. Working on yourself and not suppressing these urges. Allow that shit to hit up to the surface and being able to create that space in your mind, what it does. Stop suppressing shit. You're never going to get any work done suppressing. Like somebody asked me, I think like 3-4 weeks ago, a brother asked me about semen retention. And he was like, yeah, I'm trying to last longer. I was like, That's not the point of semen retention, sir. But continue building me your story. After you was done building your story to me, I was like, first key you got to get in your mind is suppression. Because it's not about suppression. It's about redirecting the release. It's not about suppression. It's about redirecting the release. So, yeah. Because until you get suppression out of your mindset, yeah. Yeah. Whenever the urges are going to be the natural aspects of you being in this space, being in this realm anyway. Your key is to learn how to use these urges and take them out of the definition of them being in a human moral standard. Like that's like if right now I turn on the fucking TV and I watch 007 and Halle Berry came out the water, and I think if you haven't seen 007, that scene, I don't know where the fuck you've been most of your damn life, but I see that scene, I'm like, damn, she coming out that water. Now for me, all I'm seeing is Oshun coming out the water. I'm seeing Yemiya. I'm seeing Yemiya come out of a pool of gold. The same way I look at fucking Beowulf. The last time I looked at Beowulf and watched her come out the water out of the gold, all I'm looking at is an aspect of myself. I'm taking that aspect to a higher aspect of me coming out, my feminine energy coming up to the rise. That magnetism, that spark, and how am I going to use that energy? Instead of me sitting there like, yo, man, that's nice. Because this is what it's going to build. It's going to give you the ability. Remember, everything that you're doing, you're becoming a divine union to yourself. I can go into any space at any given time and say any given thing, and it doesn't matter about their perception. It doesn't matter about their perspective of what they think of why when I said it or whatever it may have been. But I can tap into that energy. That's surely off the fucking confidence. There's surely off the confidence because there's nothing. I'm not suppressing anything. This is why I always tell everybody, go get that book, Way of the Spirit Man, which is the greatest book. Opening myself up, being honest with myself, being able to open myself up and engage every situation, using my energy to allow me to engage into that space, having that confidence within that space. It doesn't matter what other individuals' thoughts are, their perceptions within that space. I'm here for my reason. They're there to grab for their reasons. That has nothing to do with me. I accept their reasons. I accept their perceptions. I accept their perspectives. I do not have to partake to accept. This is how you diminish your value, because you think that you have to, because once you start doing this, you're naturally going to start chipping away at the aspects of yourself in order for them to remain in that space. Not building on that's when you start building based off of emotion, and you start going into that space and you building off of emotion. You got to balance that. You're balancing these perspectives. So now I'm not sitting in there just because this person, if this motherfucker over here says fuck Jesus and this motherfucker says I love Jesus, I'm looking at both of them and I'm going to give them the same process of thought in the questioning that I'm about to ask them. It's not based on emotion. If I have 400 motherfuckers that are liking videos on a regular basis and I got 400 motherfuckers on a video that are hating it on a regular basis, I'm going to approach them with the same train of thought to ask the questions. What don't you like about the video? What do you like about the video? Because the answers are either going to come based on emotion, or it's going to come based on, nigga, I learned this, this, and this, or I didn't learn this, this, and this. I didn't get your perspective on this objective. Or I was feeling what you said about this aspect on this, this, and this, and I wanted to know more about this, this, and this. Okay, cool. Because anything based on So now I have that. Now I have that new balance, that new beam where I'm standing on. I'm like, okay, cool, great. I love it. I love the build. Let's talk later. Let's talk. Let's build after that. If the motherfuckers approaching me on an emotional aspect and I don't, like, they come from an emotional aspect, now there's the podcast me, there's the lecture me giving out the information in that quick hit points, and then there's the occult psychologist me. Now the occult psychologist me, all three of myselves are here in this space, coming from my environment, coming down from my environment, coming down from the purple rain into the space, and they now all have they're all observing, and they're all able to observe and all able to get from the experience. Podcasting me, all right, cool. Next week, I'm going to, if this conversation with this individual was this good, okay, cool. Next week, that might be a good build on the podcast. Get build on the episode. If the lecturing me, all right, cool. I hit that point, hit this point, hit this point. They said they missed this point. That means next week I'm going to adjust. I'm not going to bring myself down, but I'm going to adjust how I deliver this point. The occult psychologist in me, all right, cool. It sounds to me like you're deflecting. You're deflecting. You have a lot of anger built up. I'm noticing by your conversation, I'm going to build this pitch. I'm going to build this pitch and I'm hit that tune to bring them into this space so they can get that work. 3 aspects of me, all moving in synonymous rhythm, doing what they need to do in that space. I didn't change my personality to feed the space. I kept my personality intact and I fed from the space. I broke down that space to whatever it was so I can get the energy from it. I had a conversation 2 days ago with my sister. She was like, bro, we don't talk like we used to. She was like, bro, we don't talk like we used to. And I stopped her where she was at. And I was like, you mean you gossip and tell me some things and then I break them down and then we laugh and then I'm not laughing with you. I'm making humor of the situation so it can absorb into your mind. Helping you break that shit down and then we go somewhere, then you leave. Yeah, we ain't done that in a long time. At the point that we were doing that, I was still learning. I was still mastering my craft and learning my talents. I was still learning my shit. Now that I've learned it and mastered it, now it's going to come at a price. Until you master it, it's going to be free. Until you've mastered your energy, mastered yourself, it's going to be free. You're going to have individuals that are going to be around you that are going to use those personalities because you haven't mastered the personality yet. You haven't learned how to, that personality no longer serves me a purpose. I can't take it with me to the higher realm of myself. And this is the trick with energy siphoning. When it goes, remember, it's always as above, so below. So if you created a personality down here and you gave it its life, you gave it its face, you gave it its being. You gave it its being. You dig? You gave it that aspect. What do you think is going to happen when you go to the higher realm? You created that direct reflection down here. It got to exist up there too. What do you think is going to come as? And since you're not questioning it down here, you don't question it up there. I learned from, I think, one of the 3rd Brother Panic lectures that I watched to really ask those fucking questions. I remember he talked about, I always ask him a question of something that I don't know. There was a depth and layer to that. The reason that you're asking a question to an answer that you don't know is though it can expound upon that answer. It does me no good if I ask a spirit the answer that I already know. That's like you going to the top of that's like going to the top of the mountain to go talk to the fucking guru and you ask him, is water wet? And he gives you this deep, profound answer. Oh my God. If I'm going to the top of the mountain, I'm not going to ask the guru no fucking question. I'm going to go sit beside the fucking guru. I'm going to go sit beside the guru, and I'm going to observe him sitting in this stance, or him or her in that stance. Damn, it's cold out here. They only have on this. They have learned how to master wearing just that. So that's what I'm going for. I'm going there for that reason. When you're breaking free, when you're breaking out of that space, when you breaking out, when you coming into your shit, don't accept. The key of you coming into yourself is not going to be based on expectation, it's based on accepting. Because as you're able to accept, you're actually able to ask questions. You're actually able to flow and ask the questions in that being. When you are in the mindset of based on accepting, you don't ask questions. You won't ask the question. No, at least not the question that needs to be asked. You're only going to ask questions based on formulating the space for you to continue existing in that space. Doing what you've been doing. Feeling accomplished based on quantity. Based on quantity and not based on quality. That's like if I sat here and said, yo, man, in every relationship I was in, man, I did this, this, and this, and I kept getting this, this, and this. What was the what was the original reason of you going into that relationship in the first place? Ask yourself the question, be honest. Every true relationship that's built and reinforced is based in the parameters that are set. When you go to the bank for a loan, they got parameters for the loan. You go to the place to go get a place, they got parameters to get the rent the place. When you go to school, they got parameters for you to go to the school. Whenever you're doing something, they got parameters to it. You don't own it. I don't care if you go grab a house and you pay for the house outright, whether you pay for the house outright and you go get a 16-year or a 19, 30-year fixed mortgage on the house. If you pay it off if you pay it off in like 5 years, whatever, you still don't own the house. Do you know why you don't own the house? Because you still got to pay insurance on it. You still got to pay taxes on it. You still got to pay utilities on it. You still got to pay for the upkeep. You got to pay for you got to pay to maintain this illusion of ownership. So why don't you let go of the ownership aspect altogether? Now you can layer instead of multitask. This shifts your mindset out of multitasking. You'll multitask over and over and over again just to keep that house, just to keep that car, just to keep these material items in your life for a sense of ownership. Because without it, what are you? You got one personality when you inside your car. You got another personality when you inside your house. You got another personality when you at work. You got another personality that you created. You created all these different personalities. Wait. You create all these different aspects of personalities. And now they all need to feed. That's the utilities. You don't own it. Accept it for what it is in the space. Stop trying to make it work for you and allow it to do its work, its purpose. I remember when I got my first apartment, that's my second apartment. My second apartment, I was working so much to keep that fucking apartment that basically at the end of the fucking day, I was like, nigga, I literally come in here to wash clothes and lay down for about 3-4 hours. Then I'm out the door. And then when shit would happen After I kept saying this over and over again, all I'm doing, I never can enjoy it. I never can enjoy it. I never can enjoy it. Speaking this shit out into the universe. Hours get cut. Hours get cut. I'm like, damn, nigga, now I ain't got no job. Now I ain't got no choice but to sit in the house. But here's the break. Here's the disconnect. Since I took it as ownership, I tried to base it on quality, based on quantity. So I had everything in the house. I had the stuff in the fridge that I wanted. I had the TV that I wanted. I had the bedding that I needed. Needs and wants, needs and wants. Building these needs and wants into my space. But I never thought about how the hell to maintain the shit. Because I was using external values. But I said to myself, yo, nigga, I had this house. Nigga, I ain't never in here. Now I'm sitting in the house to myself. Like, nigga, I got to pay the electric bill next month. I got to pay my electric bill. Yo, this TV ain't going to work until if the cable was used to me having this TV. At this point in time, I had a DVD player. I remember the first time I moved into a crib. Second time I had my first real space to myself. I remember I was so excited. I had my TV. I had my, I went and got a DVD player from Walmart. Mm-hmm. Exactly. I'm sitting in that space. I watched Constantine for a month straight. There was another movie with Jamie Foxx and I think it's Tom Cruise, Collateral. I watched that shit for like a week straight. I had DVDs on repeat, just watching them shit. Sometimes they watching me, I'm watching them in the space. But I was doing it from an unconscious narrative of myself. So now I needed the personality. Now I had the personality that was watching the movies. So I never really enjoyed the movie. I never really got a chance to look into the movie. It was there. This is what we do when you stuck in that space of what you keep manifesting. You ain't learn how to maintain your shit. That's why you keep losing. It's not about hustle. It's about alignment. You have to step out of this aspect because a hustler is always thinking about losing and winning by default. That's losing and winning are the byproducts of struggle. So a hustler's mentality is naturally struggle. So my natural mindset is struggle. What was my first manifested aspect of struggle? How did I first struggle? Where did I first see struggle? What did I first struggle with? Because when you start looking at that aspect, you're like, wait, that's how I created my entire reality based off of struggle. That's why when I'm not struggling, I'm losing. Wait, I ain't supposed to be lose. I can't lose what I can't win. That means I can't struggle. I can't no one dug that hole for me. I did. But that don't make struggle bad. You just have to learn it. Once you learn what struggle truly is and how to manifest it and use it in your own space, that's how you start to grow your shit. And you ain't sitting there thinking about, you don't have to go all the way back to the narrative of struggle in order to do anything. Now your mind don't have to go to, back to the aspect of struggle because you have created the stream of thought. Great album by Black Thought, by the way. The stream of thought that now subsedes that energy into your space. Stop binding yourself to things of your old narrative, of your old self, your old personality. Stop binding yourself to the old aspects of your reality where the fuck you used to be. I used to be this, and I used to be that, and I used to be this. All right, acknowledge the behaviors and the mindset of those individuals. Acknowledge the behaviors, the mindsets, everything, the senses that were online when that personality was created. Master that. Master that aspect. Because until you do, there's motherfuckers right now. These, like, when I think about the changing of the old gods, of the old heads that used to have been lecturing and on corners and talking they shit this entire fucking time for themselves. Now they're in a space where it's like, now they're challenging what they once, they're challenging themselves to what they once fucking thought, and they're trying to debunk it to keep other people in their space. There's a video on Side Television on his YouTube channel, on the YouTube channel. Type it in. It's Minister Inky. And he was like, Jesus is realer than chakras. Because you can't find a chakra not nowhere in your body. So, like, his entire build was on some, it was a frivolous build, but I was looking at it like, wow, that's really what they're doing now. So it's like, that further gave me the mindset, let me separate away from this shit. That's something that's not where I'm going. This aspect of where you're going is not going to be based in the old aspect. All of that shit becomes redundant until you bring the new definition to it. I do I'm building the entire aspect. I do the chakra therapy aspect, and I'm building the class to teach the aspects of the chakra therapy. But I first got to master the aspect of the full chakra process. That's what you're stepping into. Most people get stuck in this space for themselves, and they're like, I've been doing this for so long, I don't know how to do anything else. All right, cool. What you going to do next? Because you built that based upon one aspect of an external state of being. You didn't do it based on how can you grow and maximize this. Everything that I'm doing now, there's a maximizing to it. From YouTube, the lectures doing this right now, to the aspects of I'm gonna start getting into. Thank you. Me for myself is like, okay, cool. From going from YouTube to going to the live aspect, this is me working and mastering the aspect of being able to pace myself into my aspects. Podcast next season is going to be a lot. It's going to be very, very live and interactive. Call in and all that good shit. That's in the works of that. Building a panel or a team, building a panel and a team for the podcast to be able to do the live aspect, and then being able to still maximize. This is how you do your quality control. Being able to maximize taking the live aspect, which can be a simple 45 minutes of a show that's live, visual, and then building behind that aspect of there's a full aspect of a full show that I still can put out and stream, that people have to go subscribe to either Spotify or whatever it is and go get the information from that. It'll be two separate aspects of time. But this is how you're maximizing yourself in your space. Everything you're doing, yes, you have to constantly take yourself into this mindset of creating and destroying constantly. This is what you're supposed to be doing. This is you destroying the old. This is when you're thinking about the aspects of destroying the old gods, coming back into the Titans, the original great old ones, all the way to the Celestials, all the way going up high into these aspects. These are aspects of you changing yourself into each one of these things. Creating and destroying. Because at a point in time, the old personality, me being a god, me simply as being a God and the creator, When it came time for me to actually start destroying shit, I had to destroy the God aspects of myself to come into the aspects of my Titan self, to come into the aspects of the occultist, to come into the aspects of the alchemist, to come into the aspects of the Titan, the celestial, the shaman, to rise into my aspects, to ascend. I can't ascend from simply being, I'm just a badass fucking, I'm just a badass fucking warlock. I'm just a badass fucking, I have to ascend. And these aspects are going to be maximized in these spaces. I still can carry the aspects of the God, still can carry the aspects of the shaman. I still can carry these aspects, but I'm taking them to the higher aspect of level. That's why, for me, I love Dr. Aline Bay. I love Dr. Aline Bay. I love when I watch more science, and I like seeing individuals that are within that aspect of science, like Dr. Aline Bay and a lot of the other ones that have taken on the narratives of L's and Bays, because in their space, they have maximized using that as their original aspect of the platform that they're using to take themselves up higher. A lot of individuals come into that space and they get stuck in, I'm simply this, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep doing this, and you never grow, you never advance, you get stuck being simply this or stuck being simply that. Yes, that nigga is authentic as fuck. I remember watching the first time I really got in, like I was watching his lectures, but the one when I watched the what lecture did I watch? I watched the one when Panic was interviewing Dr. Arlene Bay. And that made me go back to go look at other fucking lectures. That's what made me go back and look at the other fucking lectures. That aspect, I was like, nigga, damn. The way he broke that shit down made me want to go back and go look at other shit to go allow me to reintroduce myself. That is you being in a constant state of your chaos. This is you mastering your chaos. You're not going to master your chaos based on the emotional aspect. Whoo. That's what you're going for. Like the old narrative, a lot of the old narratives that are now being challenged by me. A lot of the old challenges that I personally for myself had to challenge was somebody telling me, I remember the first time, like, motherfucker said it was this blanketed aspect, but there was no work to be shown with it. There was this blanketed aspect that gave me no aspect with it. You got to go within. What the fuck does that mean? Show me the work of what the fuck that means. Man, it means you got to sit there with yourself and you really got to expound upon it, please, sir or ma'am. They couldn't do it. So for me now, when I expound, when I go into it, it's to bring it down to the most simplest aspect and code everything within it. Because that's the next level. You were brought to the door. What are you doing inside that door? What are you doing inside that door? Phil Valentine, all the great aspects, they brought me into that. They brought me into that. They brought me into this. They brought me to that door. It's up to me to build something within this space. What am I going to build within this space? I'm not going to build another. I'm not going to build a mundane shit. I'm going to build some shit that's actually going to do some shifting. Some shit that actually reflects when I'm building in the higher aspects of myself. That's you doing your learning. That's you taking yourself into the process. Which leads us into, yes, this falls us into trusting the process. So you've understood it now. We did the breakdown of the aspects of your we got into a little bit of the personality aspect. So now I understand my personality. I understand how my personality works. I now have an understanding of how I can manifest and put my I now understand how I can manifest and put my space together. So now I've mastered my personality. Yes, make it work for you. I mastered my personality. in that aspect. I've created a manifestation of maintaining and not suppressing my urges in that space. Built the kitchen. Now, how do I protect this energy from being siphoned? This is where the new boundaries are set into place. This is how you set up your new boundaries. We had 1.5 gallons, ladies and gentlemen. We had 1.5 gallons. This is how I'm changing. This is how you change the reality. So it's now I have my space set in my mind. I built the physical reflection of the space within my space. How do I protect this physical aspect? The same way that I built the same way that I adjusted my manifestation and how I'm manifestation and how I'm using my energy, the same way that I'm doing this aspect is going to be the same exact way that I'm building my boundaries. Synonymous is repetition. Now, I'm plant-based. That doesn't mean I can't cook any other. I didn't start plant-based. I started off burgers and fries. My pops, Nations of the Gods and Earths and shit before he became back into his super Catholic shit. So we never ate swamp. We never ate pork. So I have those memories in my mind. Now I'm plant-based. Now I have this whole stream of thought that I can now use to build my space in my whatever I'm doing. So now when I sit inside my space, I'm like, all right, cool. This is how I'm gonna do this. This is how I'm gonna set my boundary. I only eat between 12 and 8. I intermediate fast from 8 to 12, basically. That's my time where I don't eat. That's my time where I do focus. So if motherfuckers want to come over and want to eat, guess what? You got to come between 12 and 8. I don't eat after 8. I don't entertain after. When you're building your boundaries, this is the same aspect that you reinforcing those layers. Why is this boundary set? What does this boundary mean? What are the laws that you have created for your boundary? Yeah. Like, what is the aspect of my boundary? What is this boundary set for? What does this boundary mean for me? What is this boundary being set for? I'm not just setting this boundary because what most people think when they set up boundaries, you're actually setting up barriers. This is my wall. This is my barrier. This is what you got to get through all of this. When I got a boundary, my boundaries are clear. My boundary is a clear fucking wall with my laws inscribed on it. This is everything these are the requirements. Not all of them. Yeah. Yeah, like eat meat, like whatever is in your shit. The main thing what you're doing is whatever you do, please do the fucking research. Read about it. Understand it. Just don't do it just because, nigga, that's what I've been doing all my life. All my life I had to fight ass motherfucking niggas. Like, okay, you did it all your life because your grandmother did it. And then people are going to use, once you start setting your boundaries, people are going to use the most, what are now illogical to your God mind, exactly, is law. Illogical to your God mind to try to make it make sense. Well, my mother ate swine since she lived to be 90. But what was her state of her condition of her health? Was she taking a bunch of pills? How did she cook the food? Show me the work. What did she do? How did she cook the food? When did she cook it? I'm pretty sure your grandmother was like, don't argue in my fucking kitchen while I'm cooking. And you never even realized why she said that. Don't eat food that motherfuckers is arguing over. Don't eat in a space that you know motherfuckers arguing all the time and you go eat the food. This is when you're maintaining your energy because as you're doing your work and you're becoming, as your soul is now opening up As your soul is now opening up, is now susceptible to new energy. You have not defined your energy. If you haven't defined your energy, you're going to absorb everything. You're naturally going to absorb everything because that's what your natural being open does. You're now absorbing everything. Now, when you're checking these spaces that you in, the quality was way fucking different back in the day. Like the quality of meat and food was way different, down to how it was picked out, how it was prepared. There was more of a personal relationship. This is the whole key. The personal relationship with the fuck you dealing with. Becoming intimate with your power is setting the definitions based on the intimate personal relationships. Like my grandmother went to one butcher. Went to one butcher. She knew that nigga name. She knew this nigga's kids. She basically raised this dude. Everything up until that point, knew everything about this person. So when she went in there and got cuts of whatever meat that she got, she wasn't just getting meat. She was getting the story along with the meat. She was getting the history of that person along with the meat, because that's what's going into that meat. When you going into your space, what is the history behind what you bringing into your space? That true conversation that you haven't had with yourself, because that's what's going to show up in the reflection outside of that space. You'll be like, nigga, yeah, hold on, wait. I don't eat meat because I don't make veganism my religion no more. Yes. Like when you're going into your space and you doing this stuff, is about building that bond and that relationship, whatever you're doing into your works, what you're doing. It's not going to be about, I can't take the thought process anymore. I can't fathom the process of my mother telling me that she ate this because her grandmother ate this, and because they ate this, or because they digested this, or they did this and they did this. That's not good enough for me anymore. I need more quality. I need more quality information. My mind naturally searches out more quality information. If I can't find the quality information, my mind breaks down everything down to its smallest fucking microcosm for me to be able to break this shit down. This is the natural aspect of bringing your whole brain online. My whole mind's online. This is there are no light spots that can be tapped into. Like the personalities that I've created within these spaces of my mind are all based upon that narrative of myself in my space where I'm at. This is what you're doing as you're allowing yourself to move forward. You're allowing yourself to cultivate yourself. Those personalities that you got to deal with, the personality, because now we're talking about the aspect of siphoning energy, motherfucker siphoning your energy, taking your energy away. What personality are they connected to based on their perception of you inside of that space? What personality do they use? How are they remembering you? How do they remember you? This becomes the aspect of you looking at yourself like, every time I go over to this place, they remember me for this, and this. They remember my drink. Yes. There's no such thing as an excuse. So I'm sitting there looking in that space, and I'm like, all right. I remember the last time. Wait, I'm scale the story. I had a conversation with one of my brothers from like way back in like, it had to be in like 5 or 6 years ago. Had a conversation with him, and the conversation started with, you remember this, and you remember when you used to do this, and you remember when you used to do this, and you remember when this used to happen, and this used to be a part. You remember we used to do this, and this. I was like, yeah, I remember all them things I used to do. I remember those. He was like, yeah, man, I seen you I seen your page and like I just seen you. I didn't heard about your page. I listened to an episode of your podcast and like, yo, you really expounding past what how you used to expound past a lot of things. And I'd be like, yeah, that's me now. And then they looking at me was like, yo, we need to he asked me the aspect of like, yo, we need to like link up and have a conversation. I was like, okay, but I'm gonna let you know right now. The conversations that we're going to have basically is going to be a whole entire rebuild because you're going to have to get to know me all over again because I'm not that same individual. I'm not that same energy. I'm not that same person. I'm not that same space. That's not me anymore. This is you setting your boundary. Because now after you said that, do you remember the time? Yeah, like, yeah, I remember those times. I remember. I can sit back and laugh at those moments. We can share those memories. We can share and talk about those memories the entire time. But there's going to come a point when we're going to have to actually have a conversation about what about now. You can't, because they're going to try to feed through the old personalities. They don't mean to do it. Some are unconsciously doing it. Yeah. Yo, because in that same sentence, that same conversation it was very positive, very positive. He actually set up a consultation we're gonna do next week, and because I know things about him in that aspect that we're gonna build on. But on the other end of this conversation, other end is negative because every negative we're gonna have that positive to go through with polarity. This other conversation comes in. It starts with, I actually wrote it down. Let me go into the Rolodex of time of enlightenment, ladies and gentlemen. Do. How I wanna be. Do, baby. We having fun. Do. Yeah, it was another 6. It was like this is another. I'm like, y'all coming out of the old ethers. Basically, the conversation stated, I heard you've been growing, but have you dealt with? I allowed the conversation to keep building. Something about that statement made, I was burning sage, I was setting on my altar, dropped the sage, dropped the phone. I saved the sage and dropped my phone. Spirit was like, nigga, don't answer that. Don't go into that conversation. That conversation is not going to lead you to anything, but basically you're going to be sitting there. They need something to feed off of. I remember this individual, like they like to feed off of shit. This nigga this nigga was always needing energy to feed off of in this space. So he seen me in a new space and he was like, and it's going to come in the imagery. When you're thinking about this psychological shit, it's going to come in the form of that physical, sometimes psychological. It's going to come through the stream of psychological into the physical, or it's going to come into the stream of physical to hit your psych. It's going to go back and forth. So motherfuckers are going to keep coming into your space if you have not set those boundaries and the parameters for yourself. So I'm sitting here this whole conversation. I'm like, yeah, I dealt with this, and this. I laughed about it. I've accepted it. Went on about. I didn't even answer it because I knew. Yes. Like, because you open the door, the only way that they're able to feed is off of the old personality that was created for that space and time. You're not that personality anymore. You do not have to explain to anybody why you're not that individual anymore. Yes, they are the most persistent individuals that were in my life in the beginnings of my transformation were not even family members. I thought it was going to be family. It was mainly like old friends, acquaintances, people that I talked to after, like, it's you, like, you want to stay there? That's nice. That's not where I'm at anymore. I remember this is a funny ass story. This was 2009. 2009. I'm in a relationship. It's a very good relationship. But this is when I found Jesus. Some reason, like I was like, nigga, I'm gonna find Jesus again. My whole mindset changed into, I remember the conversation that was had with me, and I couldn't defend it. That's how I knew I wasn't supposed to be there. Yeah. This is how you know you ain't supposed to be in certain spaces. Or what's coming to you is in direct. This is when we taking ourselves out of bad and good and positive and negative, and understanding that spark is pushing you out of that aspect. Exactly. I remember looking at old pictures of myself, and like I was like, yeah, I'm the life of the party. But I was like, now what? Niggas left, and I was like, now I'm sitting here cleaning up my whole fucking house. But so I'm sitting there in that space, and I'm like, so you thinking you all holier than thou and all of this shit? I was like, no. I couldn't answer the question. So since I couldn't answer the question, couldn't show my work, therefore it didn't last. It didn't last. So now that I'm in the space that I'm in now, I can show the work. This is you coming into your space, that boundary, you're showing that work. So they no longer can feed from you. The only way individuals can get anything from me based on attaching to me, it's a basic aspect of depth that they are going to themselves. Coming into this space, naturally, you are going to be exposed. Because this space is a pure protection of my straight darkness, my balance of my dark and my light, my yin and my yang. This is a balance of polarity in this space. So when you're setting that tone and the balances for your space, that's what you're looking into, and that's what you have to do. You have to get out of this aspect of, but I'm going to lose so many people, going to stop following me, and so many people. That's nice. I was at probably 1,500 Facebook friends in 2011. I was at like 1,500, a strong 1,500. I didn't know half of them motherfuckers. I would just accept friend requests, or I just accepted, whatever. When I first started coming into my shit, coming online with my shit, and this was just the earlier phases, like posting comedic sciences and comedic and all these aspects of shit, my friends list started going down. It went down a lot. It went from 15 to 5 to 4 to almost 3. I remember I had like 250 friends on Facebook. I was like, damn, that's all I got? Shit. But trusting the process, I pursued on. As I started trusting my process and trusting myself in the now, I wasn't thinking about time served no more. I knew most of these motherfuckers from high school or college and shit like that. Old energy, time served. The whole purpose of them, it was time served. I no longer had a reason. I wasn't even, if my mindset could not be or cannot fathom being in the personality that I was when I was in college. Yeah. I'm sitting in that space. I'm like, yo, I'm not even the person. I don't even remember the personality that I was in elementary school, high school, middle school, college. And I don't remember these personalities are based on that time served. The space that I'm in now, it went through the same process. Now it grew. Now my shit grew. My shit grew. And it's growing based on the organics of where I'm at in my space. But now that I'm conscious of my space and what I allow into my space, everything that I do is still synonymous with when I research everything, reading on everything, studying all and following none. Now I'm looking at these pages. Like just now, I started doing a purge of my pages of the groups that I used to follow, because some of them groups were based on time served. I'm no longer deemed under the faculties of comedic sciences. That I can't define myself as this comedic science. I can't define myself as this wonderful wokeness. I can't define myself as these aspects anymore. Like I've exceeded that definition. So now that I've exceeded this definition, now that I've exceeded this definition, now I leave room into my new space. Your cup got to become empty in order for you to allow it to become full. So now I got this whole new space opened up, and now I'm in a whole new space, which gives me a new thought process of creating. Because now I'm in, now I can now my mindset's ever in creating, because now I'm in this space like a little kid, and I'm like, what's the spirit going to have me talk about this when I wake up Monday? What's the spirit going to have me think about and talk about when I wake up on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? What am I going to drop a lecture on now? What am I going to break in when I do another podcast episode? Maybe it's time to do another fucking interview. What is it time for me to do? And as I'm doing this, in synonymous to that same manifestation program that's in my mind, I'm creating in that space. This is you being in that quantum aspect. This is every motherfucker that's talking about December 21st better not be a bust. December 21st is whatever you gonna make it. That fifth dimension 5G, when the 5G shit happened, motherfucker like 5G is gonna be destroying us and all this shit. Nigga, I was bring it in. Because it's needed. Destruction for me to come into the full aspect, the full love for my higher aspects to what I'm doing. I can't live in the old paradigms of myself. I can't live in the old spaces of myself. I can't live there anymore. Therefore, I can't live there, so I cannot, i.e. now benefit from that space. So I have to accept what comes up. I have to accept what falls away. I have to it's the accepting process. I could sit here and wish and hope all day that maybe one day when I do this and I keep thinking about it, yes, when you keep thinking about it, something's going to happen. But it's not going to be what you happen because you did not discipline the thought. You left that thought untrained. You left that thought undisciplined. And now you're running around wondering why it happened. So now you can't even brace for the impact. You're trying to brace for impact at the last minute instead of sitting there like the Jericho from Iron Man. Now you can't do it. This goes into the aspect of the quality. The only way you're going to reach that quality that you're looking for into your space, into your mindset of helping your aspects grow. The only way you're going to grow into this space for yourself is actually allowing yourself to submit to the process. Submit to the changing, submit to the feels, submit to that feeling, submit to the emotional rifts, submit to all these aspects, because this is going to help you acknowledge those aspects and triggers. What you're not going to do is use the old aspects and mindsets in order to keep you in that same space, because it's not going to work. It may work one time. It may work twice. It may work 3 times. But I can guarantee you it's only going to be 1, 2, 3. These same 3 streams. Yes. You keep trying to bring that into this instead of you keep trying to bring this to that instead of bringing that to this. This stuff over here is going to help you understand this, because through the application of this new information into this space, you're now going to be able to grow and expand. Not constrict. You're going to be able to congeal and not coagulate. No, yeah. I always say it backwards, but we know what it means. You're just going to be in a different time zone in your space and your mindset. The things that you're going to set yourself up to. You're going to accept those challenges because you know those challenges, every challenge begets discipline. So this helps you question when you going into that space and you dealing with other motherfuckers. Stop going to these other aspects outside of you to try to get your reinforcement of what they don't know. I don't like being safe. I don't live in safety because I'm outside of that bounding of what safe is, that definition of what safe is. I'm in the aspects of my higher aspects of protection. What other better way am I going to test my new theory and hypothesis that I brought down with energy other than the firsthand experience of the space? This is you being spiritual. I've tested my theories to the full, and I'm still testing the aspects to the full. And you're not doing it based on an emotional response. I can't wait to find out something new and then use it. As opposed, you got other people that right now they got in their crib right now. They have all the makings of some greatness. But since they don't know how to put it together, is because they don't want to ask that question to themselves. Trust the process. Do you trust yourself? It's always going to lead right back to the shadow work. Like I say every time, it's always going to lead back to your shadow work. Do you trust yourself? How do you honor yourself? How do you honor yourself? How do you trust yourself? How do you nurture yourself? You're looking for more. You're looking for the deeper, higher aspect, something that's helping you actually grow. When we think about nurturing on the human level, we think about the basic byproducts that keep us not really wanting to change. And it becomes based on that expectancy narrative. As long as you're in that realm of your expecting aspect, you can be in the realm of expectancy or in the realm of acceptance, or you can be in this little gray area I like to call judgment. The little gray area called judgment. Acceptance is the aspect of discernment, of learning how to move through judgment without emotion. And expectancy is the same aspect of using judgment based on the emotion and the reaction. Judging based on reaction is based on expecting. Acceptance is discernment based on response. How does this respond to this? Yes. The codependency aspect. You don't need the external aspects because that's like I said in the lecture when we went back and talking about the first thing that you're going to have to realize going back to your shadow work is how you benefited from your trauma, how you benefited from these issues, because negative or positive, it was an accomplishment. You built something from this, you built something positive from it, and you built something from the negative because you needed that negative to give charge to that positive. So you have to address this entire line of like, you know what? Yeah, I did benefit from this because it gave me a sense of safety in not having to really go to this space or not really having to do this. I remember going through a lot of aspects in my life where it was a running away from things, and I was just finding I was running away from what I needed to learn and running to this thing that was set based on a longing or a wanting. So like you question everything. Like what was the first relationship that you had with your parents? Yes, exactly. Not to validate. Everything that you're doing is not going to be on, I did this, and this. So it meant this, and this validates what I thought. If I'm looking for the validation, then I'm never going to find the answer. If I'm looking for validation, I'm never going to find the answer. What I'm looking for is the lesson. What is this teaching me? What is this showing me? What is this experience about to teach me about myself? What have I repressed that now comes out in my urges? that now creates my thought, my feelings, or the emotional or the feeling, that creates the color, that creates the smell, that creates the aspect of those senses for myself. What does it create? Instead of me looking at myself like, you know what? Yeah, I did this. I know that was fucked up. Accepting these fucked up parts of yourself. Accept them. They're a part of your narrative. They're a part of the personality that you created in order to come to this space. Accept them. Learn to love them, forgive them, thank them, and then move on to the next set. Once you start taking that process, the shit shifts. But this is another aspect in the aspect of validation. People that get stuck in, and people you can get stuck in, I was expecting this, and this. Because you're still stuck in the default of expectance. You're still stuck in the aspect of this expectancy. Accept what comes up. Like, I remember first time building an altar, and I had trace amounts of expectancy inside of my shit. I had to be honest with myself. So like when I was doing my altar and my mindset was in, okay, if I do this, then I'm supposed to get this. If I didn't get what I needed, that means I was questioning, like, nigga, did I do it right? Wrong question. In acceptance, I had to really start looking at whenever I did like a money ritual, or I did an abundance ritual, a money ritual, whatever it was, what I was supposed to be paying attention to is the people that stopped calling, or the people that were calling based on needing money, or the people that always had something that had to deal with aspects of money and all that aspect. That's what I was looking at. I had to address these filters, these senses, these personalities, these perceptions, in order for me to align to my abundance, align to my energy, align to me getting into my work, align to me getting into these higher aspects of myself. And I had to go through the process of sitting at the job. One second. Oh, my goodness, got this. Oh, what a day. Oh, what a day. Ugh. Yes, those so-called obstacles. So I'm sitting in that space. I'm like, all right, cool. Now it's time for me to do my work into this. Okay, cool. I remember the separation process that you're going to administer to yourself is going to be built on what you're reinforcing it with and why you're reinforcing it. If you're doing it based upon need and want, then you're always going to find an escape clause to not focus on your work. When you're doing it based in the aspect, okay, I need to become the value that I so desire to have in my space. I need to become the value of what I desire to be in where I'm at. I must first become this value. What is that value? What is this formula that I now have to, what is the formula that I now have to synthesize? What is the formula that I now have to create and understand based on these obstacles, everything that I went through, in order to synthesize the full train of thought for me to move forward? What is it? What is it? How do you find that? This when you find it in your discipline, the discipline in yourself, allowing yourself to sit there and send out a challenge. That's like if like tomorrow, which is crazy. I am actually doing I actually do have plans for a meditation class. But if tomorrow I send out on my Facebook page, to all my friends, to everybody that I know, in that space, I'm like, okay, cool. Yes, you have to become these aspects, those values. You naturally become, because it's naturally, the need and want isn't going to go anywhere. This is where, like, the need and want's not going to go anywhere, but you have become the value of that need and that want. So now you can move in both. Now you're moving in that realm. You now have control over your urge or your impulse of not simply needing and need distraction, want distraction. You moving in that space like, I can make that. I can make that. Like in my mind, like that this just becomes your aspect. Like I remember sitting there, and every time I would look at shit, I'd be like, I can make that. This is when I came in the aspect when I was cooking, like just chefing up shit. And I was sitting there like, nigga, I can make that. All I gotta know is the ingredients, and I can put that shit together and make that shit work. But that's your mind's. That's you. I did the shit unconsciously. Now that I do the shit consciously, it's like, for example, today, funniest shit ever. On my IG, I have to let you look for the video again. I went on my IG. There's a video. Talk to me. He's a dating relationship expert, dating coach guy, and the caption to the video is "High quality men don't look for low quality," or I can't remember. He said "high quality men," and when he broke it down, he was like, "What do you rate yourself? What do you rate yourself without your makeup?" Well, before I wake up, I'm a 5. And when I get myself together, I'm a 6. Nah, it's not Derek Jacks. It's that nigga. I don't think it's Derek Jacks. I hate that nigga make my that is the most betas, but that's a whole different conversation. I can't remember that nigga. It ain't Derek Jacks. It's not him. Because I wouldn't even watch the damn video. But he was breaking down, he was like, so what qualities do you have to that space? And she could not give the answer. She can only deflect into an aspect. So when you're looking at yourself, that reflective mirror exercise, how many things are you deflecting instead of tapping into them? I have 20 hours in a day. Start at 4. I have 20 hours in a day. Everything that I do within the day reinforces something that I'm doing next. So by the end of the day, I can be like, nigga, I may have not gotten to a result in my mind, a future result, but this is what I accomplished this is what I accomplished in my day. You change your mindset. In order to change your mindset, in order to change this mindset of myself, I got to change the way that I'm allowing my process. What side am I processing on? Am I stuck in my logic and reason for whatever it was? Or am I looking into the ways to create the new sources, to create the new scenario? Because the only way to break the source of the way I used to think is creating the scenarios that combat it. Battling yourself in your head. So the ways that I used to think, the ways that I used to navigate, I've created a scenario in my mind to become first losing that shit and then winning that shit. You have to become the qualities and aspects in your healing space, in your space and what you're doing. The old paradigm that based on subjective thought that we talked about earlier, the based on subjective thought is that time served. I did this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. Since I've done this and I've done this and I've done this and I've done this, that's time served. That thought is already gone as soon as you did it. The action is the only thing. The action is being fed by that thought, by that personality, by that space. So if I'm looking at myself now, it's like, okay, I did all this shit before. What am I doing now? But that's the deeper aspect of it. When we look at it into the aspect of looking at ourselves, we have to be able to look at it from the ability of the mass. We're taking it out of the gender and physical, and we're taking it into the gender aspects of gender, the polarity of masculine and the feminine archetype. This is another aspect of understanding, protecting and grooming your energy and being able to manifest all that you desire. What side are you manifesting it from? Is it a wounded aspect that you're trying to, is it a wounded aspect that created that personality? What personality created that thought process? Like we'll use an example like the masculine archetype. And the masculine archetype is an inability to stand still. That can be for both sides of the coin. You have an inability to stand still. You always feel like you got to keep moving. You always feel like you got to keep doing something. Why? Why do you feel like you always have to keep moving? Because in order for me to get this, this, and this, I got to keep doing this, this, and this. Okay. It's a question. Fair answer. All right, cool. What would you do if you sat still? I wouldn't know what to do with myself. Why? Because I'm so used to, okay. There's your form. These are the remnants for the formula. Let's put the formula together. If tomorrow the world stopped, which it has done before, and you cannot go to the places that you were usually going to do what you needed to do. Yes. 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 And you sitting in that space. What are you going to do now? Your natal chart, yes. It's imperative. Like when someone comes to me for a natal chart analysis, the depth that I go into their natal chart is I get the same exact response told in different ways. I didn't even know this aspect of myself. I'm like, yeah, it's there. Where did you get the information from? I prepared it from here, here, and here, and here. Here is a good book for you to do this. I can show you the work. I don't want you to, you should not, I don't need or want, I desire you to grow because I desire myself to grow. So that's a natural reflection of what everything that I do, what you're doing to your space. If you desire growth, you're naturally, when you desire growth, change, evolution, all of these aspects, you're naturally going to flow towards the aspect that is going to force that growth. Don't fight the process. Don't fight it. Don't fight it. It hurts. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt regardless. It's going to hurt. Just based on if you allow the flow to happen, it's going to hurt it's going to be it's going to be a nice sweet hurt. When you fight it, it's going to be like you sitting there at the table and your parents told you to eat the Brussels sprouts or the broccoli or the veggies, and you were like, nah, I don't want to eat that. And your grandmother made you sit there the entire time like, shit, I can't leave this table until I eat this. And after the 5th or 6th time, I actually kind of like broccoli. This shit actually pretty fucking good. Yes. It isn't for like, It's not for you to sit there and say, well, this is me and this has been me forever and I'm not going to change or I'm not going to envelop, because what's the point if all this is going to end anyway? It's not an ending, it's a beginning. It's not an ending, it's a beginning. Stop looking at, I can guarantee you, the middle point never changes. The middle point never moves. This present moment never moves. You're always in this present moment. But the way to look at it, to switch the switch and understand the polarities, is taking what you thought was your beginning and make that your end, and make your ending your beginning. That's the founder. That's the formula to the fountain of youth, baby. All day. Man, right now, like, nigga, how old? Like, nigga, I'm 27 forever. I'm gonna be 20. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be one of my most powerfulest numbers forever. I'm 27 forever in this body. I'm 27 forever. I don't care if I turn. I don't care. 25 years from now, when I turn 60, I'm still gonna be 27 forever. Fountain of youth, infinite. I'm cycling that energy through me at all fucking points in time. It's an unrest. I'm in pure chaos, so I'm not going to age. I'm in pure chaos, so I'm not going to age. I'm going to do everything in my power to ensure and reinforce that. I'm not going to sit there and be like, man, it's the end. Man, I don't know why I'm doing this. It's going to be the end anyway. Nah, it's the beginning. Because if you're thinking that your end is your end, guess what you're going to come back in on? The end. If you think your beginning is your beginning, nothing, that it doesn't stop. This is how you start. This is how you shift the mindset. Yes. Like, you still going to be in that space. The key is to master it so you ain't got to finagle it and change it and try to do all the extra external stuff. You're bringing all that shit internally. Like, half of the herbs that I used to take in the beginning of my transitions, I don't even have to take anymore because my body naturally makes it. Naturally. It's a natural process. Half of the things that I used to do to attain calmness, stillness, yes, yeah. Putting yourself into that space for you, this is how you start to cultivate your energy so you actually can use it until you define it, because you have power. It's just been defined by something else. Unlock your power, then once you unlock the power, now you can define it. Now I can define all of my power. I can define my energy, how I use my energy, where I use my energy, set the parameters for my energy. Shit ain't free. Shit ain't cheap. My energy ain't cheap. It come at a price. I require a piece of your soul. I require a piece of your soul. I'm going to give it back. I'm going to give you that piece of the soul back. But when I give it back to you, it's going to be nice and shiny, and it's going to be marked up, nice, ready for you to use. That's the soul integration process. I went through my soul integration process over many cycles. This cycle, I had to get 2 more pieces. This cycle was the 2 last pieces to my aspects of my soul. I decided the time to actually wake the fuck up. I was like, all right, cool. I guess I'll come down now. I remember the entire process of, oh shit, nigga, I guess I gotta go through this shit. And I remember everything. I was like, nigga, I've done this shit before. I've done all of the walking. And I remember thinking to myself, like, people asking, like, yo, why you like to walk it? Why you? That's the concept. The coloring books, coloring books, watching cartoons. All of these aspects are what we have done unconsciously to a certain point in time. Do that constantly, because that's what's going to help you tapping into your energy. That's exact. Like, That's you tapping it. That's you having fun with your shit. Go watch the next, like, for one example, for me, when I was actually doing my earlier studies in the Greek aspects or the Etruscans, when I was doing that aspect of work for myself, I remember watching the Hercules movie every day. I was watching the Hercules movie. I was watching Clash of the Titans. That's what I was watching while I was doing those studies. I would watch a Bobby Hemmett lecture, then watch Clash of the Titans, or I watch some Greek mythology lecture, or watch the Hercules cartoon. Because now my mind can actually has examples to actually start using to cultivate the information. You got to give yourself the examples to cultivate the information. You've done this shit unconsciously your entire life. That's why you got stuck in the space of I know. Now you got to go into the space of being empty. Like, I don't know shit. Like, even right now, after I'm done with this lecture and I'm winding myself the fuck down, I still don't know shit. I don't know anything. That allows me to become more open to get more information. It's when you get stuck in the, but I knew this and I knew that and I knew this and I knew this and I knew that and this used to make this, and it starts not to make sense anymore. I had to let go of that in order for me to embrace where I'm at now in my space and how I grow. That's you growing. That's you owning your energy. That's you becoming free. And it's that process. It's going to hurt. It's going to suck. It's going to take you down these rabbit holes in your mindset of like, but what about this? And how am I going to do this? And how am I going to do this? And how am I going to keep doing this? And how am I going to keep doing this? Create the way. Create the wave. I remember I got to a point with I always got to the same point where I was like, why am I here? Why am I doing this? Why am I here? Why am I doing this? This really don't fulfill me anymore. And in being in that space, I started looking for external aspects of thought to make me stay in that space. Unconsciously, you do it. It's okay. We've all done it. It's all a part of you learning aspects of self-reflection. You go into that space of yourself. Now that you have learned how to now you have learned how to take control of the manifestations of your personalities. Yes. Them high and them low. Those highs and those lows. You're learning from, the only way that you can embrace the high is once you've learned in the low. What are you learning in that low point? In this low aspect of that too. When you go down into this deep, dark point right here, and you down in the dip of the roller coaster and the shit slow down, life slowing down, what are you learning? That's your space to cultivate. That's your space to think. That's your space to build. That's your space to do all of that good shit. That way, when you hit that next high, that high is built off of this you, or this dip in your space. So now I've built this below in understanding my above. So now when I go back down, now every time that I'm in, now this is that line, that neutral point. Now every time that I'm up or I'm down, since I've let go of learning, since I've let go of trying to win over everything, compete with everything, since I've let go of these aspects, those personalities, when I hit that high point, that high altitude, that purification process, they burn up in the sun. Their Icarus's sun burning up in the sun, getting too high. So when I go down into the underworld, when I'm down there dealing with Hades, yes. Now I'm going down into this point. Now I'm down in the underworld. I'm down in my subconscious mindset. Now that I'm in this space down here, what am I doing in this space? What am I weeding out? This is your root. This is your root. There was a picture that I wanted to show. Do 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 do. There's a picture that I wanted to show. When I build the... No, go away. Go here. This picture. It's a picture of the Ark of the Covenant and the Ethiopian cross. And how it designs to the human body. What is in your arc that is in balance? Is your root in balance? As that energy goes up and it hits that point, your heart, what's on your heart? What's on your heart is going to incinerate everything that's on your heart. It's going to meld to everything that's on your heart. So if I'm rooted in the aspects of the manifestation that I created was based upon pain. My entire life was built upon pain, struggle, oppression, and then to that narrative. Everything outside of me is now going to physically represent that narrative. That's their world, not mine. That's their world, not ours. You have to take yourself through the process. Beloved, you got to take yourself through the process of allowing yourself to go up this damn spine, this column, going up this column, and meet yourself up here. To those three wise men aspect. When we think about the three wise men, these are three wise men sitting on the top of my cane. Each one of these are an aspect of me. All of them have their own power. Actually, there's 4 people on my cane. But this is my nexus point. This is my nexus point. In healing yourself, using this cane as the example, this is me and this is me. This is the sleeping Shiva. This is the sleeping Shiva. This is my heaven up here. This is me in that room up here. These other aspects, this is the nexus point. Remember on Avatar when the nigga was they had to plug their ponytail into the fucking animal and they can activate with the animal? Until you clear this point of the plug that got plugged in here by something else, that other personality that you plugged into, until you disconnect this cord, you can't use this. You can't even use this until you unplug this. You stuck it. Yes, exactly. You stuck somewhere down here on the pole. You stuck down here in limbo. So then when we think about reading Gnostic texts, read the Book of Thomas. Book of Thomas is actually the greatest one. When you look at this aspects right here, you can't create anything up here because you can't see it. So all this up here, you can't see. So you're creating based on here down, based on what you thought. Based on what you thought, based on what you felt, based on that action at that point in time. Until you master this, your mind, you can't build in the heavens. Therefore, you can't have any of the heavens. You can't enjoy milk and honey. You can't enjoy none of this good shit. Because you down here in this space, still trying to make this, you still trying to sustain this. This is just the structure that's in between this space and that space. This structure is only strong as this space and this. The piece that balances it, and the piece at the top that balances it, and the piece at the bottom that stabilizes it. That's as strong as you're going to be. That's as strong as you're going to get. That's as strong as that you're going to be. You're only as strong as your weakness. Yes, yeah, exactly. Creating out of that aspect of lack. I don't have this, so in order for me to get some more, I got to do this. This is the pure aspect. That love of yourself is where you're going to create the best shit from. Once the mind and once you understand that the heart is the true mind That is these two in balance. The heart being the true mind is these two in balance. That means everything that I think is everything that I feel, and going up and down and vice versa. Because everything that I think, everything that I feel is everything that my soul is telling me. And that's a whole process. That's a whole process in itself, because there's so many layers when you're going through your integration period. There's so many layers that you got to go through. But you got to start at the bottom. You got to start times. You can't use time served here. Time doesn't exist in this realm. So if time doesn't exist, then how can I use time served? If pain don't exist up here, how can I use pain? I got to learn how to use something else. I got to learn how to use something else other than pain, other than struggle, other than grief. Those things don't go into the higher frequencies of the realms. So I break this down to a lot of people, because when you start working with your aspects of yourself, working with your really working with your energy and really getting into your energy, you have to be mindful, because just like what I said, that you got to be really mindful, because everything, your dreams are going to change. Your dreams are going to show you things. Everything's going to show you things. But the way that you're going to be able to interpret it is not going to be based off theological reasoning. You can't use logic and reason to interpret a dream. You got to use the aspect of your creative space. You got to use the wisdom, and you got to use wisdom and guidance. So that feminine aspect that comes in. So if you can't understand it, it's letting you understand. Like, so if you have a dream, for example, of, let's pull one from the ethers. If you have a dream that you keep getting beat up by a group of chicks and you're a guy, and you just keep getting beat the fuck down, guess what your dream is telling you? That your feminine aspect needs to come online, or you're going to keep getting your ass whooped. Simple explanation. Sublime is in the simplicity of it. See it for what it is. Look in the reflection in your life. When you wake up, look at how you treating aspects in your life. Really get into the aspects of the first relationship, because it's always going to come back to this parenting relationship with your mother, your father, mother figure, father figure, the people that were in your life. It's always going to go back to them and what they were and what they represented. Until you understand that representation, you can't understand the new personality, the personality that you created. So if I don't understand the personality I created, I can't understand the manifestations of things I manifested and why I manifested them. This is your build into yourself of becoming your higher self, tapping into yourself, love that self. Yeah, that's the process. Like, when we look at things from one side, we try to bring logic and reason to it instead of being able to create. Maybe this is telling me something. What is it telling me? That's when you're asking your ancestors and your advisors. You asking your advisors. You asking your advisors, your ancestors, anything that you're working with. This is when you're asking them questions. Tell me something I do not know. Tell me something that I do not know. And once you get good at this, this is you becoming, goes all the way back to you being open and honest. The more open and honest you are with yourself and accepting, the more you're able to actually build. When we get stuck in this, that what I said, the expectancy aspect, you constantly want to keep going back with like, why does this keep happening to me? Why can I not seem to get this? And why can I seem not to get that? Because you're not applying the discipline. You're not applying the work that you needed to apply. The surface level, you're applying onto the surface, but you're not actually getting deeper into the aspects of what you need to get into. your perception, everything to that narrative is what you need to start working on. The work is fun. The work is fun if you make it fun, and the work is horrible if you make it horrible. It's all based on your perception. What you're going to be doing is based on your perception, how you move, where you want to move, how you want to move, what you want to do with it. Where do you see yourself going? I've cried many a times in my work, cleansing myself. I've cried many a times. Tears fell from eyes while watching movies. They're sitting there looking at scenes like, oh my God, why am I crying? Because I was really tapping into my shit. I stopped fighting the process. I started allowing the process. You got to allow that process. You got to allow the fear. You got to allow it all to come up. You can't leave it bottled in. You can't keep it down there. You can't be like, man, I don't want to deal with that part. You got to have to deal with it. Because if you don't deal with it, somebody else is going to play with it. Put that in your mind. If you don't deal with it, somebody else is going to use it to play with. Someone else is going to use that. That's how the mind control is done. The mind control is not going to be done. The mind control is not going to be done based on what I put right in your face. The mind control is put in by the subliminal after effects of the feeling that you get from it. That's when you think about distraction, that's all a distraction is. If I can stop you from doing what the fuck you need to be doing, then I won. Because you had to lose. Because you had to lose. Because your mindset is the original of what? Winning and losing. So you're in competition with winning and losing. So the mind control is that aspect. If I can get you not to do what you need to do, it implants shit on along the way. By the point in time, I ain't got to do shit else. I can be like, yo, I'm good. I got him. That's all I had to do. Make them argue. Make them fight. Make them take this energy into that. Make them take this aspect. That's what we see. Yeah. Make them get into that aspect of that personality archetype to make them do what the fuck I needed them to do. What? This is you watching your energy. Because niggas, like motherfuckers out here right now, if you ever noticed, when you eat and why you eat is very important. This is one very important part that I learned from myself. When you eat and where you eat is very important. If you go to some places and you realize that you are always eating a lot of food into that space, like every time you go there, you feel yourself consuming a lot of food, your body is telling you that it needs energy. Top layer. Under layer of this aspect is that your body is letting you know, is taking in all of this food to produce energy so it doesn't consume yours. So when you I really had to start thinking about it. I remember when I would go, I remember going to a club. Yeah. I remember going into a club. And after every time I go to the club, when I was down here, it was Waffle House. When it was up top, it was like one of many other 24-hour spots. Wherever I was at, they had a 24-hour spot there. So I remember there was it was always this narrative that I thought it was fucking normal. I go to the club, we have a party, we have a good time. Then after we leave the club, we all go into Waffle House, we go into Denny's, we go into Johnny's Burgers, we going somewhere to go eat food. Why were you eating the food? The food wasn't because you hungry, because you ate before you. For me, I ate before I even left to go to the fucking club. My house pregame, eat food at the house, and then now I sat there, I'm like, why the fuck am I eating this Waffle House at fucking 3:00 in the morning? It's because all the energy that you lost in that space. Now your body's trying to quickly replenish that energy so it can get back to doing what it's supposed to be doing. Mindful of your energy. You'll notice when you go to certain spaces and then, yeah, All the spirits you drink hungry is they hungry, they angry. Think about what you ate. Think about what you were doing in that space. Bobby Hemmett told your ass don't eat. My grandmother told me, I remember Bobby Hemmett, I was like, nigga, that's my grandmother right there said that shit. Do not eat in where there's anger. Do not eat where the motherfuckers are yelling, arguing. Do not consume anything in a space where niggas arguing. What happens at clubs? Niggas is arguing, niggas is fighting. Even on the best nights of the club, there's gonna be a fight and an argument. And you sitting there drinking. That doesn't mean stop drinking. That means maybe the next time, and this is just all a party. This is an overall growth. It's like maybe next time I'm gonna enjoy a couple of drinks at the crib. I can have control of the music. I got control of the flow. I got control of the energy in my space. I'm gonna do it there. I'm gonna do it at my crib. This is you become mindful of your energy. Be mindful of your energy. Because even with perceptions of shit, there's another aspect in perceptions. Yes, exactly. Beware. A person can connect to you based upon the aspect of even a lie. Think about that. Let it sizzle in your spirit. They can catch you based on a lie. They can connect to you based on a lie. They can catch you based on it. They're gonna program an image into you, and then you'll spend your entire time trying to defend it, not realizing that's how they siphoning your energy out of you. Man, ain't no one gonna try to test me, man, and try to make it like I ain't real. Nigga, think what you want to think. Great. That's how you feel? Cool. That's how you feel? Great. You've made my process of elimination and being aware easier. Now I ain't got to worry about it next time. Won't make this mistake again. And this helps with the self-realization. This helps with the self-awareness for yourself. Being able to sit yourself into a space. 90% of the people that I used to deal with, they think I worship the devil. I don't worship shit. I am, nigga, that's me. That's me. Sorry. Let them do what they're going to do because they're connected to an old aspect of you that no longer exists. The moment that they have the thought, it's in the past. You're outside of the aspect of time. The moment that they have that thought, it's already out the aspect of time. So what are you defending? Personality disorder. Yeah. This is you changing. This is you shifting. This is you accepting that. This is you coming into that space. You have to allow yourself to go into the space. You have to trust this fucking process. Whatever that process looks like for you, oh Lord. Y'all know for like almost, I couldn't say it. I was so used to saying bro, I couldn't say bruh like that. It still don't. Sometimes I have to think about it and saying certain shit. But when you in that space for yourself, your energy, monitoring yourself, monitoring the personalities that are being used in that space, how people are remembering you, all of these are key aspects in your work. All of these are actually byproducts or the side effects of you doing your work, because now you become aware of, oh, that was the mindset that they used for me. You put yourself in that space and you're like, you know what? That's not me. That's not me no more. And I'm okay with that. It's about saying that's not me no more. And I'm okay with that. It's about allowing the natural aspects that fall off as you saying that's not you no more and being okay with that. It's about allowing motherfuckers to get upset because you're not easily to be brought into that space and they can use the same abilities. You want motherfuckers around you that encourage you at all times. Anything that I sustain and encourage me at all times. I don't need validation. All I need is the nigga, don't stop, keep going. All right, bet. Because those are physical. Everything that you're doing is going to become the physical manifestation of your life. So you'll know this is how you understand that your work is working. Because the process that you're trusting, that's part of the process that need to happen. Yes, exactly. Nothing at all. It's how you grow your quality. I appreciate everybody. I appreciate coming through, taking in the information. Allow it to do what it's supposed to do. Allow it to speak and sizzle to your spirit and awaken aspects of your soul. I want you to be the best. Ashe, much gratitude. I want you to be the best. Appreciate that support to the greatest. If y'all don't follow Milo the Greatest on Facebook, follow him because almost every other day he puts up a different ritual on Facebook. Read it, take his name out and put your name in and embrace the process. Learn from it. Everything around you should be teaching you something. It should be teaching you something about yourself that you did not know and you did not want to accept. And it should be encouraging you to use what you just learned to take yourself to the next level. If it ain't doing that, then it shouldn't be there in the first place. It's nothing but stale, old weight that's going to be holding you down. But yeah, God Hour Podcast this week episode did a bill with Celestial Magi. We got into the aspects of the wounded feminine, the wounded masculine, and the aspects based on Wounded Illusion. It's out now. I think it's streaming on here now. Taking yourself into that space and allowing yourself to understand and grow. GodaCoAlchemistLLC.com. Y'all know that's for everything that I do. In this description of this video, you know, the prices for all the readings, all of the processes and everything. Book your shit. Get yourself in there today. Get yourself in there. Set that appointment up. It's going to be the best conversation that you're going to have in your life. I guarantee it. Yeah. I want you to be fucking great. I want you to be the fucking best. I want you to rise to the occasion. And that's my purpose. That's my purpose. Living in that aspect of my purpose is what I do. If you need that assistance over that threshold into that, now that you're approaching that dark space, or you need to get to that dark space, GodaCoAlchemistLLC.com. GodaCoAlchemistLLC.com. What is your name on Facebook? Yeah. Tap in. Tap in to tap out. Yeah. Crazy thing is, Chanel is still my app. The 2 C's is the aspects of the 2 C's are the aspects of the balance of the wings on my app. Same name, different phase. That's what you got to do. Wow. Ashe. But yeah. What else I about to say? That's about it. This is the question and answer period. I feel like we ain't done a good question and answer period in a while. It's the question and answer period. This is the question and answer period. It does not have to be a question about the lecture. It can be whatever question that's in your mind that you want to have, bring that shit to the surface. Question and answer period. Drop the question in the comments. We'll build on the questions. Hell, we'll even do some readings. Ooh, child. Oh yeah, make sure you share. Let the knowledge do what it's supposed to do. Burn the eyes out of motherfuckers so they can see. Why are you such a nigga in a female body? That might just simply be because at another point in time in transition that you were in the male aspect. So now that you were in your male archetype when you first came down one time. So now in this time, you are now the male in the feminine body to understand. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's a real question she does. Yeah. So now in this space, you are now going through the cycle of unlocking the feminine aspect, understanding those masculine aspects in your feminine space. Now that you're in the feminine space, now you can embody and actually ask yourself and bring that unity in that space of yourself. That's all of the aspect what it is. Like a lot of us get stuck in, well, I might be this and I might no. It's because you came back down here in a space. You came back down here for a reason in that space. I've been a shamanist in one point of I was a shamanist in one of my lives. I was a priestess in one of my lives. You keep coming down to learn different aspects of your soul. Your soul, this is that soul integration aspect. So at one point in time, when you feel like, for example, like you feeling real niggerish, feeling real niggish, real mannish, it's an aspect of yourself. The key that you're going to have to come into now in this space is understanding what am I having to learn in this body, in this space, in this time through this personality. What do I get to learn? That takes the aspect of going back into that shadow work of yourself, the works of yourself, unlocking the soul process, and being able to look back at your past lives. You can do that with a past. That's easy as with a past life reading. That's going into the aspects of past life reading is like the beginning aspect. What was I doing? The past life reading is the beginning aspect, but there's actually a meditation process that I do. It's actually a process that I do when I take you back into that space so you can like start looking at your old lives and then bringing them to the surface. And then I've done two. I did two last week. And the dude was he came back as a chick and he was like, I was like, who are you? And he told me who she was. I was like, yep, that's who she was. Yep, that's who you are. And let's build on that. And then that's the process. Everything that you're doing. Yeah. That is that process. That's your way. That's you figuring it out. That's you figuring it out to the aspect. And then you also have to go into the space of But we're also have to go into the space of what it is that has to be unlocked in that space in order for you to be able to gravitate to that. What feminine aspects basically in this cycle that have to be acknowledged and addressed in order for you to actually heal those or bring those wounded aspects into the higher aspect for yourself. That way you're able to balance out the masculine energy that's already prominent by helping it submit to the feminine aspect that's within inside of you. Yeah. The schedules be fucking, yeah. I'm actually, I'm open all day. I have openings all day tomorrow. I have like 2 readings I got to do earlier on, but I'm pretty much open all day tomorrow. There's hit my inbox when you got the time, and we can actually we'll set up the space for it, and we start that work. We get that work process for you. There ain't nothing to do that work. You just got to be able to. That's another aspect of the feminine aspect. Never. The masculine aspect is never really being able to sit down and actually sit there in that space. That's what we got to do. So yeah. Yeah, you got to put that work in. It's not going to do it itself. The aspect that we got used to based in the subjugation of where we were at was the time served. So you thought that I suffered and I did this, this, and this, so now I need to get this, this, and this. That ain't how it worked. Time served ain't got nothing to do with now. I hope is always going to be less than I trust. You got to I trust this process rather than I hope that this process works for me. That's going to be your process. Anybody else got questions? Channeling Bobby Hemmett right now. Questions? Anybody got questions? It don't necessarily, remember, it don't have to be about the lecture. It can. You can build on that later. If you have a question and you don't want to, and you knew, you can drop it in the comment, or you can hit what is it? Wait, you know what? I'm gonna do it now. Ooh. Oh shit. Hit this. Do it in my job voice. Bang my line. 777-7708. The best thing to do is to text first. Yep, that's the number. Y'all all right? Everybody good? I knew I came through a Bobby Hemmett pipeline. That energy, that archetype of energy. I knew I came from that nigga parent energy, because everything he said made sense. And this was like earlier on watching Bobby Hemmett lectures. I was like, nigga, all this shit makes sense. All this shit making sense to me. But yeah, that's the number, website. Follow me on Facebook, Rockall Onijas. Instagram is Papa_Lucy666. Stay tuned for the classes that are coming in. Next. Classes coming soon. Book that session. Book that shadow session. On this page, if you have never experienced a shadow reading aspect in the depth that I do it, there's a video. There's actually a 2-part video The first part one of the video is the build of what we do in the aspect, and the second part is the questioning part and what we go on going forward. Book it. There's nothing to it but to book it. You're going to learn what you need to forgive, what you need to accept, what you need to release, what you need to learn, or the things that you're going to need to be learning, where you're going to find healing and recovery, and where you're going to find the help. It's all there. I just want you to be fucking great. But yeah. What was I about to say? Yeah. Deify yourself. Take those personalities and sacrifice them to Chronos. Sacrifice them to the Tom. Because that's going to be your process. Everything that you're doing down here is the aspect to learn. It's the aspect to rise. It's the aspect to have fun while you learning in this shit. You can't win what you can't lose. I trust is always going to be greater than I hope. Yeah. Yeah. And until next time, yeah. And until next time, I'll see y'all. I love you. We love us. Ashe.